deadliest day in the country's history. The Palestinian fighters breached the Gaza-Israeli border, storming southern Israeli communities and a music festival with gunfire, rockets and grenades. The attacks resulted in the deaths of more than 1,200 people on Israel's side, and 251 others were taken hostage. Israel retaliated with a massive military campaign in Gaza and has since killed more than 67,000 Palestinians. Entire neighborhoods have been flattened, with homes, hospitals, schools and water networks in ruins, and caused a humanitarian crisis. U.S. President Donald Trump, who presented the peace plan, says talks are progressing as negotiators continue in Egypt.
I think we're doing very well, and I think Hamas has been agreeing to things that are very important. And I think Hamas now has been, all I can say is they've been fine. They've been fine. I hope it's going to continue that way. I think it will. I really think we're going to have a deal. We have a really good chance of making a deal.
Ambassador Natim family say they will only find peace once they know the truth about the cause of his death. His body was found at a hotel in Paris last week after he had apparently jumped from the 22nd floor. 58-year-old Ntetwa's body is expected to be brought home to South Africa this week. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
At this stage, investigators from both South Africa and France have completed investigations on Ambassador Natim Tetwa's body, but the cause of his death remains a mystery to his family as they await a final report for closure. Family spokesperson Sfiso Buthelezi was among those who identified his body in Paris last week.
They are done with performing autopsy. What we're expecting from that report, we want to find the scientific outcome of exactly what happened. That's all what we expect.
The South African government also sent out a team of investigators to France to thoroughly probe this death. Meanwhile, the Mtetwa relatives in Kwambonambi, northern KwaZulu-Natal, say proper plans for the burial will get underway as soon as the body is home. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And prosecutors in Australia have filed an appeal against the sentence of mushroom murderer Aaron Patterson, saying it was inadequate. Last month, Patterson was arrested for life with no chance of release for at least 33 years for killing 3 relatives and trying to kill another with the toxic mushroom meal. Prosecutors confirmed that they filed an appeal on the basis that the sentence handed down to Patterson is inadequate. Patterson's jail term, one of the longest ever handed to a female offender in Australia, means she will be in her 80s before she is able to apply for parole. Gold is trading at $3,972.73 an ounce. The rand is at 17.18 to the dollar, 23.15 to the pound, 20.11 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.67 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Edenville, we've got an accident reported on the R24 West. It's near Barber Road, the R24 East rather, and it's causing heavy traffic volumes towards the OR Tambo interchange. While traveling on the N3 North, we've got delays between Linksfield Road and the Modderfontein Road exit, and that's due to an earlier accident, and now I'm seeing roadworks taking place along this route.
And in your sport, Tasman Brit smashes her 5th century of the years. The Proteas thrashed New Zealand by 6 wickets at the Cricket World Cup. Bafana have called up Ndusha Balala to replace the injured Mofokeng. And former England rugby captain Lewis Moody reveals he has motor neuron disease, the same disease that took the life of former Bok Joost van der Westhuizen.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng, Johannesburg starting at 14 degrees, peaking at 28, Pretoria 15 and 30, for the Vereeniging 12 and 28. The top story in EWN this hour, the International Relations Department says 6 South Africans detained by Israel will return on home soil this morning.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Indeed, let's. 6 minutes after 6 o'clock. It is a Tuesday. It's the 7th of October. The year is just racing along. Somebody told me a theory the other day that if you have lived until, say, the age of 5, a year at that point, very obviously, is a 5th of your life. And until 10, it's a 10th of your life, and a 20th, and a 30th. And as you get older, that's why it rushes so quickly, because it's such a small portion of the entirety of your life. Do you feel like the year is going faster, Mateo?
Very fast.
You're getting old.
Very fast.
That's what that means. Amo, is the year going fast?
Yeah, I'd say so.
You're getting old, my friend. Welcome to it. It is already indeed October. I don't know if you've seen at the malls, they're starting the festive things little by little. It starts with a little trickle of the music, a random Boney M song, and then you see frosted glass or a tree or what are the Christmas colors? Green, white, and red?
It's too early.
And a bit of gold,
Yes.
right? Those are the colors. They're starting, my friends. So much to deal with on our menu. Welcome one, welcome all. Welcome to 702 Breakfast. Are you in Vereniging or Centurion? Are you in Roodepoort or are you in Ekurhuleni? It doesn't matter. We aim to reach you. We'll tell you what's going on in the world and why it matters to you.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes after 6 o'clock. So today, you might argue that our show, if it had any kind of theme, it is certainly going to be around Zulu culture or even African culture more broadly speaking. We start off our first interview looking at that ruling yesterday that essentially upheld the decision to appoint Mrs. Zulu Kazwelithini as the Zulu king. Remember, there was some contestation within the royal family about whether or not he was the rightful heir. And so we thought we'd bring back our fave, the one that the king challenged to a stick fight. Remember Professor Musaqulu, the cultural expert. He'll talk to us about what this means now for the Zulu royal family and what it might mean for Mrs. Zulu's reign going forward. Is this the end of the matter, or can there still be more contestation around who the rightful Zulu king is? And I think this is important for us to have a conversation about. Often people will refer to African culture. This is what we do in African culture. We Africans do this or say that. And one of the things that I've always struggled with as a notion is the idea that African culture is sometimes perceived as something frozen in time, that it doesn't evolve, that it doesn't adapt, that it doesn't incorporate different things. You most often notice it if there is to be some kind of family gathering, a wedding, a funeral, something of that sort, where all of a sudden there are all these rules that are not codified anywhere, and various aunties and uncles and people of influence in the family will tell you, this is what we do, this is what African culture is. And it raises a question about who that conversation belongs to, who gets to lead that conversation, and who owns what we often refer to as African culture. What sparked all of this off was a wedding whose photographs went viral just a couple of weeks ago. It was a same-sex couple, two men getting married, one wearing traditional Xhosa attire and the other one wearing Zulu clothes. And there are people, cultural commentators, who have said this is un-African, this is un-Zulu. Particularly, of course, the Human Rights Commission is investigating one Gizwe Mkhunu, who's a media personality of sorts, who made inflammatory statements online criticizing this couple and saying that they had gone too far in their gayness and these things don't represent African values. So we've got two cultural experts, Professor Nokuzola Mndende, somebody whose opinion I respect on many issues. She's a specialist in culture, in African culture and spirituality at the Itamaku Heritage Institute. She's on Mkhunu's side on this matter. We've also brought in Dr. Lwando Scott, who is from the University of the Western Cape, a scholar of gender and sexualities studies. And I think the contestation there is about what Zuluness or what African masculinity means and who owns it. Right? One of the most popular, and I might get into trouble for saying this, one of the most popular, well-known gay men in South Africa has to be Usomizi Mhlongo, who I think, by the way, has done incredible work for gay visibility. But part of what often happens is he is framed in a particular way. And when Zulu men, who in every other respect seem like any other, show up in the cultural attire and claiming pride in their heritage, but also their orientation, it threatens people because, no, hang on, we own that, you don't. It's the same thing that happened in the Mai debacle just this past weekend. So we'll have that debate a little after 7 o'clock. And then there's a US blacklisted Russian plane that landed in South Africa. It's understood to have dropped off some cargo. What is unclear is where it is, how it was allowed to land here, and what that might mean in the context of those tensions between South Africa and Washington. We'll speak to the Department of Transport about that. And a new play at the Market Theatre confronts the crisis of absent dads. It's called Fatherhood.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
7:02 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
Indeed, you are with Bongani Bingwa. It's 12 after 6. As always, of course, I've got colleagues, an entire team behind the scenes doing all sorts. We're live, by the way, on our YouTube page. You can check us out on 702's YouTube page. You can see what's going on in the studio right now as we speak. Amo Ramila is here in the studio with us. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Bongani Bingwa. Morning, 702 Landers.
And Muteo Haripe.
Morning, Bongs. How are you?
Good. Yeah, the buttons must always be pressed.
Yeah, no.
That's
getting on
delay.
my bike, Bongs.
It's only day 2
since
you've been back, right? So here's a question for both of you, right? This is our shout out this morning. What are you an expert shopper for? Your friends, your family, your close associates, if they don't come to you for advice before making this kind of purchase, they regret it every time. What's that thing they say? Oh, if only I'd spoken to Amo about this before I made that decision. Oh, if only I'd spoken to Mateo about this before I made that decision. What are you known as an expert shopper for? Is it gadgets? Is it tech? Is it jewelry and clothes, makeup? Is it cars? Is it homes? Is it home appliances? What are you known as an excellent shopper for? Amo?
I wouldn't say an expert per se, because I don't consider myself as one, but my family and close friends usually come to me for entertainment and hangout spots, especially those who've got children, because usually when I go out with my kids, my little ones, I always just post, I share stories and what have you. So they would ask me, I'm looking for a place where I can go with my family and I want a nice spot where they can be entertained and I can also have a good time. And what I look out for is shared experiences between family members, memories, as well as picture-friendly environments.
All right, so that the kids can always have a good time. You're that go-to person for family outings, shall we say? Yeah? Muteo?
It's often things like meat. My friends will call me for that because
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, like different meat cards, because I'm always braaiing, I'm always smoking meat, and it's like, no, this is what I want to do, this one, and then I'll either
advise
go with
on the
them
cut
to the butcher, or I'll advise on cuts to get. Another one is always knowing a guy, that can sort someone out. It's like, oh man, I need a burglar bar. Do you know a guy? And then I'll quickly find that number for them.
You always know a guy.
You must always know a guy.
You must always know a guy. Or we'll tell you why we're asking this question coming up. Something everybody trusts you when it comes to shopping for it. And I want to know what that thing is and what it is you look for that makes you such an expert. We'll explain coming up.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
It's 6:15. One of the stories we're keeping an eye on, of course, is the International Relations Department saying 6 South Africans detained by Israel will be returning home this morning. Israel saying that they've deported 171 people to Greece and Slovakia. Some of them had been detained for participating in those Gaza-bound flotillas, those 8 flotillas. Most prominent among them would be, of course, the Swedish activist Greta Thunberg. In a press statement, Thunberg has accused Israel of escalating what she is calling a genocide. Have a listen.
Of global international solidarity, of people stepping up when our governments fail to do so, of people saying that my so-called leaders who are supposed to represent me, who continue to fuel a genocide, death and destruction, they do not represent me. And this is a last resort. That this mission has to exist, it's a shame. It is a shame. And I could talk for a very, very long time about our mistreatment and abuses in our imprisonment, trust me. But that is not the story. What happened here was that Israel, while continuing to worsen and escalate their genocide and mass destruction with genocidal intent, attempting to erase an entire population, an entire nation in front of our very eyes, they once again violated international law by preventing humanitarian aid from getting into Gaza while people are being starved.
Yesterday, of course, that the US President Donald Trump referring to Thunberg. In fact, I think there's a part where he says she's got anger management issues. But I want you to listen now to the Palestinian journalist Kieran Andrew, who has described what has happened on those. He's described what happened when they were detained aboard that Sumud flotilla yesterday, and talking about conditions they endured under Israeli detention.
So they bound our hands with cable ties in cells without drinking water. We had to drink out of a tap that was producing brown water. There was one toilet between 10 people, not in a good condition as you can imagine. No toilet paper. We're throwing people's medicine in the bin in front of them and laughing in their faces. We told them people are going to die. The individuals pleaded with them, I need my medication for this, it's my human right, where are our lawyers, etc., etc. They laughed in our faces. The food we were given was infested with insects. Several people saw women have their hijabs ripped off their heads violently. One young woman has a problem where her blood doesn't clot, and she was on her period. They refused her any sanitary towels and any medication to handle her condition. So she almost died, bleeding out in her prison cell.
You can betcha as soon as the 6 South Africans land on our shores, we'll be trying to get them on the radio to share their perspective.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
19 after 6, Mateo Kharipa, you've got a question of your own?
Yeah, I want to know this morning, Bongs, from you and the 702 landers, how well do you understand cryptocurrency and blockchain technology?
Not at all.
You've tried and it didn't work
Not
out.
even tried. Not at all.
Are you willing to understand it?
I would love to.
Amu?
Yeah, me too. I've never tried it at all. I've never experienced.
Is it just too complex?
Angaz. I'm just Angaz all over.
You're not the only one, Bongs. I'll tell you why I'm asking. Something quite interesting is happening in our banking space, and you might want to understand blockchain all of a sudden.
All right. Can't wait to hear.
702.
Weather.
What weather conditions can you expect on this Tuesday? A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. Johannesburg temperatures starting at 14 degrees, maxing at 26, 15 and 29. For Pretoria, for Eniging, 12 and 27. A cloudy day in Cape Town, 18 degrees is your high there. It's 26 for Bloemfontein, 28 for Bombela. Durban, cloudy in the morning, maximum of 22 degrees. That's really the same story for Gqeberha in East London. Kimberley maxes at 27.
EWN Traffic.
All right, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 right now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Amo?
Well, Bongani, there's been an accident in Edenville along the R24 East. It happened near Barber Road, causing heavy traffic volumes towards the OR Tambo Airport. Please be on the lookout there, or use alternative routes if you're heading towards the airport. Your alternative is the R21 South. Traveling towards the Baklu turnoff, we've got roadworks taking place on the N3 North near the Baklu interchange. Delays from Marlborough Drive. There's also queuing traffic on the N1 North between Malibongo Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You could spend 10 minutes on social media or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. SMS out to 45142. Like 55-year-old Andre, who now pays a mind-blowing 776 Rand a month for his 2024 Toyota Urban Cruiser. With Outsurance, you get to enjoy benefits like panic assistance that sends the nearest medical or armed response unit to you wherever you may be, 24/7 with just a tap on the app. SMS out to 45142. After switching, 55-year-old Stefan now pays only 611 Rand a month for his 2024 Suzuki Jimny. Outsurance is so confident that they can beat what you're currently paying. So why not put them to the test? If Outsurance can't beat what you're paying, ask them for 500 Rand. Make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Savings or cash, you have nothing to lose. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online. Limits apply.
702. Serving the 702 family in 702 land, including those of you in Attridgeville. Attridgeville was established in 1939 and named after philanthropist Myrtle Attridge. The Mendy War Memorial in the township commemorates the over 600 black South African soldiers who drowned when the troop carrier SS Mandy sank in the English Channel during the First World War. Former Deputy Chief Justice Dikang Moseneke grew up in Attridgeville, as did middle distance runner Sydney Marie. 702. Let's walk the talk across 702 land, including Attridgeville.
Mzansi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million Rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday? Well, don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 120 million Rand jackpot today for your chance at winning the big millions. Buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The stage, the lights, the crowd, everything's perfect until suddenly someone slips on the dance floor. A speaker lands in the buffet. In an instant, your masterpiece is a mess. That's why Auto & General is there with Events Liability Insurance. We handle the unexpected so you don't have to. Plan the party, wow the guests, leave the rest to us. For more information on Events Liability Insurance, visit autogen.co.za. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
In Africa, we say the chameleon looks in all directions before moving. At Plus 94 Research, we understand the importance of careful consideration. By analyzing comprehensive data and diverse perspectives, we help you make informed decisions that stand the test of time. Don't leap without looking. Move forward with insight and precision. Plus 94 Research, the science of decision making.
For the first time ever, the G20 summit is being hosted on African soil, a global moment of solidarity, equality, and sustainability with Africa at the center. So tune in this Friday between 6 and 9 for the G20 Correspondence Desk on 702, and it's brought to you by RMB and FNB, proud sponsors of this year's G20 summit. The latest news, views, insights, and breakthroughs from the summit. The G20 Correspondence Desk on 702, brought to you by RMB and FNB, divisions of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized financial services provider.
Start your day with Bongani Bingwa
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Walking the talk, 25 minutes after 6 o'clock. Things you need to know at this hour. One of the big stories, of course, we're keeping an eye on Mandla Mandela and several South African activists detained by Israeli forces during that global Summit flotilla mission to deliver aid to Gaza will be released, we are told. We're expecting that they will be repatriated via Jordan today. I played you a clip just a moment ago of the Swedish activist Greta Thunberg. But the US President Donald Trump just speaking out yesterday about Thunberg and what he believes are her anger management issues. Have a listen.
She's just a troublemaker, you know. I mean, she's no longer into the environment now. She's into this. She's a troublemaker. She has an anger management problem. I think she should see a doctor. She needs anger. If you ever watch her, she's a young person. She's so angry. She's so crazy. Now you can have her.
The Eswatini government is receiving 11 more criminals deported from the US this month, and they've assured the public they pose no security threat to Eswatini or its neighbors. I wonder how much this is all going to blow up in all our faces. We're keeping an eye on that story. This is following an earlier batch of deportations involving people convicted of serious crimes, including child rape and murder. And Eswatini is taking these prisoners, or these deportees rather, for money. I mean, they're not going to detain them. How quickly do you think it's going to take for them to come to South Africa? Ooh, do you ever go on a treasure hunt as a kid? Listen to this. A treasure chest worth $1 million was recovered off Florida's coast 300 years after a Spanish shipwreck scattered its riches across the ocean floor. Divers have unearthed over 1,000 gold and silver coins from 1715, part of an estimated $400 million fortune lost in a hurricane. We'll get more details on this from Adam Gilchrist. And France plunging into another political crisis after Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu resigned just 26 days into the job. It's made him the third Prime Minister to quit since December. What's the quickest you've ever left a job? What's the fastest you've ever left a job? So let me go first. I remember when I first left at 7:02, I was meant to go host the afternoon drive on SAFM. But they were dilly-dallying with a contract. And in that period where I was serving my notice period here to leave to go to the other radio station, Carte Blanche came calling along. And I remember on the first day I walked in to say, sorry, I'm no longer coming. I'm going there by the Carte and the Blanche, there by Derek and Ruda. That's where I'm going. What's the quickest you've ever left a job?
6 months for me. It was 6 months. I was working at a logistics company, and there was a job at YFM, and I left without.
What were you going to do? What were you going to do? Amo, you're the stable, mature one here.
I am. Yeah, I really am.
Okay, 6 months versus what? 6 minutes, perhaps. What's the quickest you've ever left a job? And of course, born on this day in 1967, Toni Michelle Braxton, the American singer, songwriter, actress, and TV personality, has become a global icon. Sold more than 70 million records. He Wasn't Man Enough, one of her best singles. She's among the best-selling female artists of all time.
702.
The newspapers.
Swiso Zulu, what's the longest you've stayed in a job, or the shortest?
The shortest was a month. I was working at a community radio station back home, and I got an offer at a regional commercial radio station. So I left without looking back.
And here you are,
and here
about
I
to
am.
tell us what's happening in the world.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. Have you been so angry at work, being angered at work so much that you couldn't control your anger? You ended up insulting or assaulting the person that angered you?
No. HR is listening, so the answer to that is no.
So there's a story in the Indian Express today about how a lawyer threw a shoe at the country's Chief Justice. Can you imagine throwing a shoe at Justice Mandisa Maya? Because he apparently said something about Hinduism. He wasn't happy about what the justice said about Hinduism. So the lawyer basically was in court yesterday, and the Chief Justice dismissed a plea that was seeking to reconstruct a sculpture of Lord Vishnu, who is known as the preserver and protector of the universe in Hinduism. And the justice basically said, well, if you are so passionate about this issue, this is a publicity interest litigation, go ahead and ask the deity himself to deal with it. Doesn't need to come to court. And the lawyer was so angry, he took his shoe and threw it at the justice.
I do know in some parts of the world that is also a form of protest.
Yes.
You may remember, of course, the Iraqi man who threw his shoes at former U.S. President George W. Bush. So it is also a form of protest, I suppose. The front page of the Business Day, ANC rolls the last dice, the NEC adopting proposals aimed at stopping factory closures. How I Survived Tavern Shooting is the front page of the Sowetan, with King Misizulu Kazwelithini on its cover. Essay ready for new politics, says the Citizen. Shooting star is the picture of the Proteas opener, Tasman Brits, celebrating after scoring her maiden World Cup century.
EWN Business.
Now, the man who knows all about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is Muteo Huaripe. Why do the rest of us not? Is it because it's too difficult? we kind of understand it a little bit, or we're waiting to see? What do you know that we don't?
Well, I think, Bongani, it's going to be something we learn to understand as more and more banks try to latch on to the systems. Local banks, ABSA and FNB, will try to bring blockchain technology closer to their clients. The two banks will be part of a trial by the international payments platform SWIFT, which will introduce blockchain-based shared ledgers. Now, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, otherwise known as SWIFT, the global financial messaging network, is exploring a blockchain-based shared ledger to modernize its operations. This is seen as a pivotal step for global finance that promises to make instant, always-on cross-border transactions. A lot of people have been trying to understand this world of blockchain and things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And as a lot of banks try to get their regulations sorted out, it's going to come closer to a lot of clients. Now, SWIFT has kicked off with a group of more than 30 financial institutions globally to design and build the ledger. The ledger will allow banks to use a credible platform to link their users with cryptocurrency transactions to move coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So the next time you tap on your app, you might be using blockchain.
Wow, where's the rand?
Rand at this hour, 17 Rand 17 against the US dollar, 20 Rand 9 cents against the euro, and 23 Rand 10 cents against the British pound. The price of gold at $3,975 an ounce, or platinum is at $1,634. Brent crude is now at $65.62 a barrel. More business after 7.
Straight to the news desk we go. Sfisa Zulu, what you got at this hour?
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. The Home Affairs Department says it will collaborate with civic movement Soil of Africa to unblock IDs wrongfully suspected of fraud. Scores of members from the movement and affected individuals marched to the department's head office in Pretoria yesterday. They claim thousands of IDs were wrongfully blocked and say the department is not moving fast enough to resolve the issue as required by an order of the High Court in Pretoria last year. The blocked IDs crisis dates back to 2005. The department's Deputy Director General Thomas Sigama says it's already unblocked more than 2 million IDs so far.
We will continue to work with Soil for Africa. They've indicated that they had a meeting with one of our officials, and we then make sure that we then take the documentation that they had, we evaluated them, and feedback will be provided continuously. So through your members.
The Gauteng Health Department has assured that a fire at the Charlotte Maxeke Hospital has caused minimal damage to the facility. Yesterday, a female psychiatric patient set her bed alight after demanding to be discharged. She was unharmed during the incident, which happened in a ward on the 9th floor of the building. In a statement, the department says the patients or other patients had to be relocated to other wards for their safety. While the recent fire is reported to be minimal, the hospital still needs 1.7 billion rand to be fully fire compliant as it continues to repair several blocks damaged by a fire in 2021. Meanwhile, the DA's Jack Bloom says hospitals shouldn't be a fire hazard.
You know, a hospital like this should have sprinklers, they should have fire alerts, fire detection systems, and proper gates that can shut off certain sections. You know, the access doors should be able to shut off in the case of any major fire.
2 of the 14 accused on trial with alleged underworld gang boss Nafis Modak are making moves in attempts to be released on bail. Modak and his co-accused face 122 charges for various crimes, including murder, extortion, fraud and corruption, as well as money laundering. The matter was postponed again yesterday after a lengthy 6-month break. Carlo Peterson was in court.
One of the accused who intends applying for bail is Taufik Brown, who is also known as Bubbles, and is alleged to be the leader of the terrible Westsiders gang which operates in Woodstock. Brown faces charges for allegedly using his gang to orchestrate murders on behalf of Modak. The other accused is Jacques Ronier, who is believed to be the muscle in Modak's nightclub security firm. Lawyer for both accused, Inga Jansen, says she filed affidavits for her client's bail applications in June this year. The matter will be back in court on Monday, pending the availability of the presiding judge. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures are at lows of 12 and 14 degrees, peaking at highs between 28 and 30.
And in the traffic, we've got an accident in Gilview along the N12 East. It's right near Klipprivier Drive. It's causing heavy traffic volumes coming out of Xavier Street. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling in Edenville, another accident seen on the R24 East right near Barber Road, causing heavy delays. Please be on the lookout.
The top story this hour, the Home Affairs Department says it will collaborate with Civic Movement Soil of Africa to unblock IDs that have been wrongfully suspected of fraud.
The joy of what if we just let it go to voicemail. The joy of what if we skipped the flight for a front row seat to the open road. The joy of what if the wrong turn took us the right way. The joy of what if we didn't share this view and kept it our secret. The joy of what if not being there yet was the best part. Choose the joy of what if with BMW.
Insurance claims are stressful enough. Fortunately, with Outsurance Business Insurance, when you claim, your excess is a fixed amount, not a percentage of the claim. For medical specialities like dental, physiotherapy, surgical, and other industries, Outsurance Business Insurance are trusted experts in insuring your business. Get more out of your business insurance. Get a quick and easy quote today. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
Your office is more than just a place to work. It's a reflection of your success. At Desk and Chair, we help you elevate your workspace with locally manufactured desks and a wide range of chairs to suit your style and budget. Our expert consultants are with you every step of the way, from planning to delivery and assembly. Visit our showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better.
Coming up in the next hour, what's the question? It's brought to you by Outsurance. So 3,000 Rand in cash is up for grabs. Send us an answer based on something you heard on the show that piqued your interest. For that, you win 1,000 Rand. WhatsApp us your name and the answer to 072 702 1702. Then later, someone else will ask a question to get to your answer and they will win 2,000 Rand. Now, you stand a better chance of being selected if you have SMS'd out to Outsurance and got yourself a quote. So SMS out to 45142 now and you could save on your car insurance.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Happy Tuesday, Bungles and 2702 lenders. Bungles, you will be very shocked working in HR. A person can literally work for that first month, get paid, and off they go. They won't be happy. They wouldn't raise their voice. They wouldn't say anything. They'll just disappear. Just literally after the 25th, right? The person is gone. You're trying to locate them. They're gone. AWOL, gone, disappeared. Zoom. That's what we deal with. Happy Tuesday, guys. Have a good one, Shadi, Kempton Park.
Does being an expert shopper mean that one has a degree in shopping?
All right, two things there. We were talking about the resignation of the third French Prime Minister in 3 months. I think it's 26 days into the job he left. And we were asking you, what's the shortest you've been at any job? Now, the question about being an expert shopper, right? What's that thing your friends and family rely on you for advice before they buy? If they don't ask you, they always regret it. We're really asking that in light of the new political formation. We spoke to Musimaimane, remember yesterday, Unite for Change. And the Citizen has an entire spread this morning about voters who are disenchanted because of the established party's failure to meet their expectations. And so the idea is that voters are possibly shopping for new parties. And I want to know from you if you are one of those voters and what it is you are looking for in the new formations or in the new parties. What priorities must they have? What policy outlook must they have? What about their track record to deliver? The combination of Patricia de Lille and Musimaimane, and they didn't always see eye to eye, if you remember. And of course, Songezo Zibi has brought a new dynamic into our political landscape. So if you're a voter shopping for a new political party, what is it you are looking for? Let us know.
EWN Sport.
Cindy Paluta, not the biggest shopper there ever was.
In terms of?
Anything.
No.
Anything. Could be jewelry, could be bags, could be clothes, could be cars, could be.
Imagine being a big shopper of cars, guys, in this economy.
So Jacob Mashokwa, for example, whom I posed this question
yes.
to, is the guy. I mean, if I was buying a car and I had Jacob's number, I probably should call him before buying a
So
car.
I'd phone my husband because he is the most knowledgeable person I know on cars. Like, really, like, he can tell you, he will tell you if they're using the wrong sound of a car in a movie.
Really?
Or the wrong bike in a movie. He will tell you.
He's that good.
He's that good. I promise you.
That is.
So but the problem with people like that is that because they are the expert on that, when it comes to them choosing a car for themselves, they anguish over it because it's almost like leading by example, and it's an absolute nightmare because they struggle. They struggle to commit. Yeah, the rest of us just go, oh, it's pretty, and we buy it, right? They have all the ins and outs and the technicalities,
of why and why not.
Yeah.
I have some friends who might say they come to me to shop for drama because listen to this: the verve, the skill, the panache of South Africa's women. That's how Neil Manthorpe has described the Proteas game yesterday. Let's talk about that because we were excited about it.
It is. It was phenomenal because we've seen they collapsed at 69 all out against England in their opening games. It was lovely for them to get their first one of the Cricket World Cup, and they did it in style, thrashing New Zealand by 6 wickets with 9 overs to spare. New Zealand elected to bat. They were 231 all out. Malaba took 4 wickets. Proteas then chased that down thanks to Tasman Britt's huge knock of 101 and Sine Lessa's unbeaten 83. The pair put on a record 159-run partnership. So Britt's century is her 5th one of this year. That's the most by any player in a calendar year in women's ODIs. Brits also took 41 innings to score 7 centuries, the fastest in women's ODI history. Here's what she says has changed this year.
No, nothing very different. I've just tried to expand my shot selection a bit more, and I've been working very, very hard on that.
Proteas next play the unbeaten India on Thursday, while the men are gearing up to play Pakistan in a series starting this Sunday with the first test. Temba Bavuma misses out through injury, so Aiden Markram is the stand-in captain. He knows Pakistan wicket won't be welcoming.
Ultimately, if it's going to be extreme like it was in that English series, then it's going to be difficult for both teams from a batting point of view. For us as a squad, we just got to be happy with what we have, whatever the conditions look like, to back whoever it is on the day to get the job done. I'm not too fussed by it. I think if you want to use home ground advantage to help your team win a game of cricket, then I think you should be able to do so.
Look, obviously winning a test series on the subcontinent is a big deal. So they've been at this Sports Centre for Excellence in Pretoria.
Yeah, HPC.
Basically trying to mimic the grounds and the pitches they're likely to encounter. So we'll see whether that pays off or not.
Well, as Markram says, if it's tough for us, it's going to be tough for them as well, right? The series has 2 tests, 3 T20s and 3 ODIs. Bafana called up Nduduzi Shabalala ahead of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, the Zimbabwe and Rwanda. Shabalala replaces the injured Rele Mofokeng. Here's coach Hugo Broos.
What qualities he has, I think, if you see the games of Chiefs, I think that Nduduzi is someone, he has an action. He knows where to run when there is a space. For me, his best position is behind the striker. So if we use him, it will be on that position.
Bafana plays Zimbabwe on Friday night, and former England rugby captain Lewis Moody has revealed he's been diagnosed with motor neuron disease, a muscle wasting condition that took the lives of other fellow rugby players like Joost van der Westhuizen, Dodie Weir and Rob Barrow. Moody, who was part of the England side that won the 2003 Rugby World Cup, discovered he had MND after noticing some weakness in his shoulder while training. The problem failed to improve. Speaking to the BBC, he said he felt lucky that the only real decision he made when he retired from playing was to spend as much time as possible with his sons. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
Who is the whizziest of them all?
It's the Whiz Quiz on 702.
Hi, Uncle Bongani. My name is Mason Pillay. I am 10 years old. I go to Jacaranda Academy. When I grow up, I want to be an electrical engineer. I can't wait to play Whiz Quiz with you.
We can't wait to play with you too, Nasan. 10 years old, goes to Jacaranda Academy. Can you walk away with 10,000 Rand?
702.
Coming up at 7:15, the big interview.
EWN. Traffic.
14 to 7. Let's catch up with the roads now. peak time delays in a lot of places, Amo?
Yes, Bongani, as well as roadworks that are taking place along the N3 North, causing delays, adding onto the peak time pressure between the Geldenhuys interchange and Modderfontein Road. About a 15-minute hold up there. If you continue making your way towards Sunning Hill via the N3 North, do expect more traffic volumes approaching the Baku turn off due to more roadworks. And then if you're traveling in Gilview, we've got an accident on the N12 East. It's right near Clip Rivier Drive, is causing delays coming out of Xavier Street. And there's also queuing traffic along the R24 East towards the OR Tambo interchange. This is due to another accident near Barbara Road. Please be on the lookout there. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Move on to your ultimate vehicle. We Buy Cars makes it easy to find and hard to resist. From nearly new to reliable classics, there's something for everyone. Plus, their finance solutions are simple and affordable. Apply easily online or in-store. Selling a car? Get an offer at webuycars.co.za or visit them nationwide. We Buy Cars, the best way by far.
The team's on a roll today. Let me focus on payroll. Duty calls in the kitchen. That's why I have a business insurer that is agile and on the ball all the time on all things. I chose My Way Business Insurance, getting 24/7 emergency service and saving on my premiums, plus my business assist to handle my admin.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Would you like to come to the 702 launch of Mandy Wiener's new book? Midday Report host Mandy Wiener has written a book about the negotiations that took place between political parties after last year's election, which led to the formation of the Government of National Unity. It's called The Deal, and she's going to be interviewed by Clement Manyathela on his show tomorrow, the 8th of October at 10 a.m. If you'd like to be a part of the studio audience, you can send us an email to contact@702.co.za. That's happening tomorrow at 10 a.m. 702. Let's walk the talk.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Hi, morning Bongani. Hope you're good. I need to ask from Mateo. Is it still what to have ATM for cash in these banks? Because now we get money, the cash at any till shop. Is it still what to have an ATM at the banks or what? Just there. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Mapeleni. Good morning, the 702ers. For me, I think it was 5 hours. It was a call center, and I got there and I got annoyed the fact that I needed to be calling people and then they hang up on me or they tell me all kind of things. I was like, never again. And I walked out. It's less than 5 hours because I went in and I didn't go back after my tea break. That was 3 hours, I think.
What happened to that new guy? You know, can you imagine everyone at work? Where's the new guy? 3 hours later. We're talking, of course, about the shortest stint you've ever done in any particular job. As far as ATMs are concerned, we'll put that question to Mateo. He stepped out for a moment. But I wonder, worth it to whom? To customers who use them. I suppose it is worth having ATMs wherever they need them, right? If people rely on cash for them. But I suppose increasingly for the banks, different calculations are being made based on consumer behavior and how customers transact these days. So it's an open-ended question. We'll put it to Mateo when he pops back in.
The brainy kids of the Whiz Quiz
on 702.
All right, 10 minutes to 7 o'clock. Up next, he's finally been installed permanently now as the king of the AmaZulu. We'll speak to Professor Musaqulu about that, what that means for the Zulu royal house. In the meantime, let's play the Whiz Quiz. Remember to send us a WhatsApp voice note to 072 702 1702. If you're aged 10 to 13 and you want to play, do so now. Tell us your name, your school, and why you want to play, and we could be calling you. Nasan did that, and that's why we're playing with Nasan today, who is 10 years old and goes to Jacaranda Academy. Nasan, are you ready to play?
Yes.
Yes is the confident answer.
It's Mason.
Beg your pardon?
It's Mason.
Nason. I beg your pardon, Nason. Forgive me. Forgive me, Nason.
It's okay.
Thank you, Nason. Let's start the clock. Spell the word illness.
Illness.
Correct. In the English alphabet, which letter lies between N and P?
O.
Correct. True or false? The air that we breathe consists mainly of nitrogen.
False.
It's true. Which group of animals have air and feed their young? Milk. Which group of animals have hair and feed their young milk?
False.
Mammals. Complete the saying, don't put all your eggs in one what? Basket, correct. What is the meaning of the abbreviation SMH? Shake my head. Shake my head is the answer we were looking for there. Nason, bit of a rough one there for you. You walk away with 3 correct answers, and that means 300 Rand. Remember, it's 100 Rand for each correct answer. And if you get all 10 correct, you walk away with the 10,000 Rand prize.
702 podcasts are on 702.co.za.
It's been a long-running dispute over who gets to lead the Zulu nation that seems to be settled, at least for now, in law. Yesterday, the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein ruling, in fact, that President Cyril Ramaphosa did act lawfully in recognizing Mrs. Zulu Kazwelithini as the rightful Zulu king. It comes after, of course, there was some contestation, and the court validated the role played by the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi as the Prime Minister during the succession. We've invited our old friend, Professor Musaqulu, who's a cultural expert, to tell us what this might mean for the monarchy and, I suppose, more broadly, traditional leadership in South Africa. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bongani. Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners.
It's always a difficult thing to understand a monarchy existing in a constitutional democracy. There will be tensions at times.
Well, there will be. In the whole of Africa, it's Morocco and Swaziland where they have absolute monarchies. Maybe a little bit in Lesotho as well, but in many countries, the monarchies are subnational to the constitution of the country and as well as the legislative framework of the country, which means that they are basically regarded as being the same as, at least legally, as all other citizens. And therefore, whereas the monarchs tend to have aspirations of something like a Swatini or Morocco, we should have given them more powers to determine the future and the lives of the countries. But it's something that they have to live with. It's the same here in South Africa.
Well, let's talk about this ruling from yesterday. The court essentially saying that, in fact, Zulu tradition and custom was followed correctly. From a cultural perspective, what does that process actually involve, and why was it important for the court to acknowledge it?
Well, it's the 2019 Traditional Leadership and Cohesion Act, Traditional and Cohesion Leadership Act, which prescribes a manner in which a nomination of a new monarchy should be done. Basically, it should be based on your traditions. Now, traditions differ, but what the late Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi had written down was that because he is born of a queen, and that there was a queen from another kingdom, and there was a meeting that was held for the nomination, and there were minutes of that meeting, and therefore it means that the tradition had been followed. The meeting has got to be a meeting of the members of the royal family. So that is what was basically confirmed. And the president comes in late. He cannot call on a meeting of the royal family. So if he is told that this is what was followed, this is how it was done, he does not have an alternative, an option except to endorse that. So it came from that. And from that perspective, maybe only if the other factions approach the Constitutional Court. But as far as I can see, the matter is settled now. King Misuzulu continues to be king of the Zulus.
Yes.
And my prayer is that they all just accept the situation and move on.
Would it not be better if there was some kind of codified, written procedure or rules or system to follow? Because, as you say, the president, or at least the secular authority, comes in late into the process. But the question or the difficulty that arises is which family meeting, which family gathering do you believe?
No, exactly. I think that because even that Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act does not prescribe how it must be. So it's very much reliant on oral and customary perceptions. I think it's one of the issues. I once mentioned to the president in passing that maybe he should consider forming a committee that would be able to help write down codification for all these customary practices so that it's known, it's not guessed. Because one of the reasons why you have so many disputes in traditional leadership issues is because of the complexities of oral traditions, really. He said this, he said that, and nothing written down.
So what does this mean for King Misuzulu? Is he then effectively settled on his throne? Could there still be a challenge, I don't know, say to the Constitutional Court? Or does this matter rest now?
As far as I'm concerned and as far as I look at it, the matter is finished now, finalized. Going to the Constitutional Court, that judgment, I read it, is very tight. But you never know, because when you go to court, you have 50% chances of success. But in as far as that judgment is concerned, it's flawless in as far as it's able to record everything from both sides and identify the weaknesses on one of the sides.
What happens to the challenges?
As I said, Bongani, I think the best thing that should happen is for the Zulu royal family, really, to begin now to come together and work on settlement among themselves, maybe give each other some responsibilities so that they are busy and maybe find a way of creating stability and settlement, because they can go to the Constitutional Court, but I think it will take another 4 years. In the meantime, King Misuzulu is confirmed as king now. All his dues and benefits from government are not will not be affected at all. So the best thing is to accept that and move on.
I suppose one of the things that will display some leadership will be the king bringing the family together and moving on as one unit. Appreciate your time, Professor Musaqulu, cultural expert there, weighing in on King Misuzulu's place that now seems assured as the Zulu king.
702.
Coming up, the big interview.
Sticking to the theme of culture in a sense, who owns it? This follows, of course, the social media personality Ngizwe Mkhunu's controversial remarks that are being investigated, by the way, by the South African human rights couple. It was all to do with a gay couple's traditional wedding, and he felt they weren't entitled to the symbols and the traditions of the Zulu and Xhosa cultures. Some experts agree, others disagree. So, who owns tradition, identity, and social change? That's up next after this Eyewitness News, brought to you by Khalix. Khalix, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
This is EWN.
KZN's top cop finally appears before members of parliament and Joburg City supplier to square off in court with the Hawks. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will make his first appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry to elaborate on his allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system. Mkhwanazi will take the stand in the parliamentary inquiry just 2 weeks after his 3-day testimony before the Madlanga Commission, which is also sitting in Pretoria. Parliament says everything is in place, including security arrangements for Mkhwanazi's evidence, which will be led by Advocate Norman Aronser. Babalondenza reports.
Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will give testimony before the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee for 2 days. Unlike the 3-day testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, another departure from the Madlanga Commission is that Mkhwanazi will also face questions from members of the committee, which is made up of 8 parties, with the ANC holding the majority of seats. After the opening statements and questions from the evidence leader, members of the committee will also be afforded 30 minutes each to pose questions to Mkhwanazi. In terms of his terms of reference, the committee will also, among others, investigate the status of the 121 case dockets allegedly removed from the political killings task team as directed by the Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, acting on the instruction of Minister Senzo Mchunu, who also ordered he disband the task team. The committee will also interrogate instability within crime intelligence. Mkhwanazi's appearance will be followed by National Commissioner Fanima Semola on Thursday. Babalondenza, Eyewitness News.
Johannesburg City Power and the Hawks are set to face off in the High Court today over recent search and seizure operations at the utilities headquarters. City Power wants the court to declare the operations unlawful, claiming the search warrants used were invalid. Over the past 2 months, the Hawks have raided City Power's offices twice as part of an ongoing investigation into several questionable contracts totaling more than R500 million. Alfara Mushwana has more.
The latest Hawks search and seizure at City Power's offices was triggered by a questionable R64 million contract for the supply of electricity transformers. However, the transformers were never delivered by the agreed deadline of December 2023, despite payments having been made. Last week, the Hawks visited the utilities headquarters to obtain a purchase order related to the contract in question. In its court application, City Power is seeking the return of all documents, data and devices seized during the Hawks' recent operation. The utility argues that the warrant authorized mirror imaging of all its digital systems and communications, despite the investigation being limited to just 1 or 2 transactions. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
The Palapala burglary trial has delayed while the court searches for a new Oshiwambo interpreter. Oshiwambo is an official Namibian language and is the home language of the 3 accused people in the matter, Emanuela David, Froliana and Linasho Joseph. Yesterday, proceedings at the Mudamale Regional Court in Limpopo were cut short after one of the accused told the court that the interpreter was not accurately relaying the information. This was not the first time in this matter that the accused raised concerns over the interpreter. Tabiso Goba reports.
Before the start of yesterday's formal proceedings, the court's interpreter told the magistrate he was tired due to having, quote, a hectic weekend. This led to Magistrate Peter Mantata wondering whether that affected his performance.
I'm not sure if it's a question of being fatigued or actually it's a question of the language itself.
With no substitute interpreter available, Mantata was forced to adjourn the matter.
I don't want to risk by proceeding with this matter and at the end of the day or the whole trial, and the matter may be set aside on the basis of a very simple thing that this court could have addressed.
The trial is expected to resume tomorrow with a new Oshivambo court interpreter. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
And more than 200 people left stranded by a blizzard near the eastern face of Mount Everest are still being evacuated. It comes after some 350 trackers were guided to safety during an initial rescue operation, which was launched after unusually heavy snowfall and rain struck in the Himalayas last weekend. Reuters is reporting that the evacuations are expected to be completed today. Those rescued so far have been escorted to a small town close to the base camp on Everest's Tibetan side. Gold is trading at $3,974.22 an ounce. The rand is at 17.17 to the dollar, 23.13 to the pound, 20.09 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.65 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Gilview, we've got that major accident seen on the N12 East right near Klipprivier Drive. It's causing heavy traffic volumes at this particular moment coming out of the Uncle Charlie's interchange. If you're traveling towards the Baklu interchange, roadworks are causing delays on the N3 North. This is a bit of a stop and go situation coming out of the Galnes interchange towards the Baklu turnoff.
And in your sport, Tasman Brit Century blasted the Proteas women to a 6-wicket win over New Zealand, their first win of this Cricket World Cup campaign. Bafana expecting no favours from Zimbabwe in their upcoming World Cup qualifier. And the Bulls without captain Marcel Coetzee, but have 13 Springboks as they hit the road in the URC.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. Johannesburg is at a low of 14 degrees, peaking at 28. Pretoria, 15 and 30. Vereeniging, 12 and 28 degrees. The top story in EW in this hour. KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will make his first appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry to elaborate on his allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Picture this, you're in the office preparing a big presentation for that important meeting and you accidentally spill coffee on your crisp white shirt. Now, don't stress. Because with the emergency shirt service from Khaliks, you could have a brand new shirt delivered to your office in no time. All it takes is one phone call or a visit to khaliks.co.za. So next time you have a sartorial mishap, don't cry over spilt milk. Get the emergency shirt service from Khaliks because accidents do happen. Khaliks, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
7 minutes after 7 o'clock, you are indeed listening to 702 Breakfast. One of the news stories that I paid some note to yesterday was yet another resignation by one more French Prime Minister. And it got me asking the question, what does it take to downgrade a country? So often the ratings agencies will talk to us about stability, right? They'll talk to us about the idea of being able to predict what is going to happen economically and politically in that country and in that environment. Policy uncertainty, isn't that the phrase we have heard so many times? Where there is inconsistent or unclear government policies, well, that leads to political instability and, of course, constrained capacity by any government to deliver. So yesterday, we saw yet another French Prime Minister resign. It really leaves the French president in a bit of a pickle. And it is really quite extraordinary how that development has occurred because, of course, we have seen a number of resignations by French prime ministers in recent days. I want you to listen to the national news, an Abu Dhabi media news channel reporting on Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu leaving just 26 days after taking office.
French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu has resigned just 13 hours after announcing a new government. It's a dramatic move that has caused French stocks to fall and the euro to slump. France is now facing unprecedented leaderless government. This is the shortest administration since the Prime Minister was toppled after only 2 days in 1954. President Emmanuel Macron faces a deadlocked parliament. There are 3 main camps and no consensus. This is a political crisis started in July 2024 after European elections were won by the far right. President Macron then called for a snap election that ended in no overall control. Now France has no prime minister and no budget for 2026. The president's term ends in 2027 and he is running out of options. The risk of another snap election is that he could lose. Meanwhile, his allies aren't able to provide a majority.
Can you imagine if that kind of thing happened here in South Africa? If you just listen to the detail of what that means for the French economy and government. The BBC also said it might lead to some political turmoil.
Who indeed would want to be Prime Minister in France today? In normal times, it's a thankless job. You're just the president's bag carrier, and then you take the rap when things go wrong. But these aren't normal times. They're very hard times, chaotic times. And the life of a French prime minister is even worse. Why? Because of these elections 14 months ago, which produced a completely unstable National Assembly, Parliament. It means that there's no majority in Parliament for anyone. So President Macron has appointed 3 men now since then. The Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier, François Bayrou, and now Sébastien Lecornu. They've all lasted a short period and then they've had to give up. Sébastien Lecornu didn't even last 4 weeks in office. He named his government yesterday and then within hours he had to go because he knows he can't find a majority in Parliament to support any kind of laws that he might like to pass. It's a complete block. What's going to happen now? Well, no one knows. Either the president is going to have to call new election in the hope of finding a new chamber which will produce a majority, or he's just going to go through a long list of people trying one after another to get a majority, to get a government together. But so far, it's been a complete dead end.
In the meantime, back home, the ANC has adopted a 10-point economic action plan. This, of course, following the meeting of its National Executive Committee over the weekend. And they're saying they're going to try and stop South Africa's deindustrialization. They're going to be focusing on things like preferential electricity tariffs, export controls, infrastructure investment, and others. President Ramaphosa, speaking in his capacity as the ANC president in Boksburg yesterday, saying that at the conclusion of that NEC meeting, the other important thing to note is that they are being serious when it comes to crime, and that recent SIU reports demonstrate the government's commitment to fighting corruption.
The SIU reports that are coming through are demonstrating that we are serious about fighting corruption, and they will be acted on. The SIU has made tremendous progress in addressing or helping us to address the spate of corruption that has been spreading throughout. Government reform is not only about compliance, it is also about restoring public confidence and trust and enabling the state to lead investment and industrialization effectively. Economic transformation is the moral and strategic mission of the African National Congress. With coordinated industrial policy, strong institutions, and an innovation-driven growth strategy, the nation can reclaim its role as Africa's industrial leader.
And of course, Israelis are marking 2 years since the 7th of October Hamas attack that killed 1,200 people and saw more than 250 people taken hostage. There will be commemorations and rallies calling for the release of the remaining captives. The anniversary comes amid renewed hostage negotiations in Egypt, an ongoing war in Gaza where nearly 67,000 Palestinians have been killed, many of them women and children, according to Gaza's health ministry. And yesterday we received the sad news of the death of the best-selling author Dame Jilly Cooper, who died at the age of 88. She's best known for her popular blockbuster novels such as Riders and Rivals. Dame Jilly Cooper, of course, a really famous racy novel author. Does anybody still read those? Have a listen to this clip from Channel 4 News.
The best-selling author Dame Jilly Cooper has died at the age of 88. She was best known for her so-called blockbusters like Riders and Rivals, which was set in the ruthless world of 1980s television and was adapted into a Disney Plus series last year. Much of her writing about class, sex and rivalry drew on her own well-to-do upbringing and knowledge of living in the West Country. Her children Felix and Emily said her death yesterday morning had come as a complete shock.
7:02. Up next,
The Big Interview.
EWN Traffic.
7:15, and this Eyewitness News traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. That crash on the N12 East. Amo?
Bongani, it's really a major one. It's causing about a 30-minute hold-up coming out of Xavier Street. This is right near Clip Refuge Drive. Please be on the lookout there. If you're traveling on the N12 West onlookers are causing those delays coming out of Komara Street. While heading towards the Sunny Hill area, we've got delays on the N3 North between Marlborough Drive and the Clue interchange. This is due to those long-term roadworks that are taking place along this route. And there's more roadworks taking place in Kempton Park along the R24 East, right near the OR Tambo Airport. Please be on the lookout, about a 15-minute hold up from Barber Road. We'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clever late excuse number 94. You dropped your phone behind the fridge and had to rescue it. That's a weak one. Well, fortunately, with Outsurance Pointsmen on the roads, you no longer have to come up with creative excuses for being late. The Outsurance Pointsmen ease traffic congestion to get you there quickly and safely, and they've been doing so since 2005. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, show them some love online using hashtag PointsmanLove. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
702.
The Big Interview
with Bongani Bingwa.
16 minutes after 7, on to this now. Recent controversy in South Africa has sparked quite a debate over culture, identity, gender and queer rights. So media personality Ngizwe Mchunu has faced some backlash after making inflammatory online remarks criticizing a gay couple that incorporated Zulu and Xhosa cultural elements into their wedding. He's gone on suggesting punitive measures for same-sex couples who do this, and this has triggered widespread condemnation. You may have seen even a confrontation at Guamaimai Informal Market at the weekend, where he and supporters tried to storm the market as a part of their protests. And now the South African Human Rights Commission has confirmed it's investigating multiple complaints against him. However, he's not the only one who agrees with his perspective, and we did invite Professor Nokuzola Mndende from the Itamagu Institute, who defends Mchunu's position as a defense of tradition. But of course, to hear the other side, we also asked Dr. Lwando Scott, a senior researcher at the Center for Humanities Research at the University of the Western Cape, to join us. I'm afraid to say Professor Mndende is not answering her phone, but nonetheless, we'll try and wade through this with Dr. Scott, who joins us now. Dr. Lwando Scott, a very warm welcome to you, and thank you for joining us on 702 Breakfast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Bongani.
As you know, this has sparked quite a furious debate with many defenders of African culture saying this kind of element should not be incorporated in same-sex weddings. What have you made of those arguments?
Well, I think that the arguments obviously rest on the idea that queer people exist outside of African culture and African traditions, which of course is a fallacy. And so, the problem here is the ways in which people like Mr. Mchunu, want to draw borderlines around who belongs where, around, so-called protection of culture. And so, I mean, these are really strategies around the use of power in, demarcating who belongs and who doesn't. And one could say, there was goodness in what he's trying to do, but the way he's going about it in terms of the language that is in use, that is derogatory, calling people izinja and all of that stuff, that is more incites violence more than anything.
Look, that is obviously quite objectionable. I mean, using that inflammatory language, as I said in my introduction. But if you look at the merits of what he is trying to argue in terms of, for example, the regalia, the traditional regalia that would have been worn traditionally, say, for example, by Amabuto, to incorporate that into same-sex weddings, he says is objectionable, Does he have a point?
Well, I don't know. That then, I mean, the question then becomes, why this one? Why has he gone around objecting to the use of this in every other setting? Is this the only setting where this is not allowed? So the problem with this is that, again, who is in charge of culture in this setting? Who is in charge of saying, what can be worn when? Because, I mean, for me, part of what's interesting here is, there's been couples since, I remember there was a couple 12 years ago who, used this regalia, if you want, in their same-sex weddings, and there was nothing about it. And there's been many, many couples since then. And so my question then becomes, my answer to your question would be, why now? Why this? Why?
Perhaps the previous examples weren't as amplified as this one. I mean, people will argue around these clothes and this apparel that, for example, traditionally it may be argued that a young man who's just come of age may dress in a particular way. It may be argued that a married woman has to wear certain clothes that signify specific aspects of being married, whether with children or not. Similarly with older folk. So there are codes into these clothes, and that's the basis of the objections. So whilst there may have been other examples, maybe they weren't as amplified. We now know about these, and these are the objections. What's your response?
Well, again, my response is, the guarding of culture for me seems incredibly selective here. And that, it is a very tricky thing to actually police. Because again, there's an idea here that, some people are in and some people are out. And, and I think, you're saying that this one is amplified, whereas other situations weren't. I think that, this is, Mchunu is feeling some kind of way about this. Imagining that culture stands still or culture doesn't move, or and other people can't participate in the ways that he wants them to. So I think that it's interesting, and I suppose perhaps it's good that there's a debate going on about what is appropriate, what is not appropriate. But I think if we're going to police and implement what is and what is not appropriate, then there has to be some agreed upon standard for what that is, and it can't be selective on when certain individuals do it that we do not necessarily agree with their lifestyle or ways of being. And so if this is going to be implemented where cultural regalia is relegated to whatever, Mchunu says, I think it in fact sets a dangerous precedent, because again, is he the arbiter of all of Zulu culture? Is he the, and in that regard gives him, incredibly too much power, I would say.
All right, Dr. Scott, I'm going to ask you to stay on the line. We found our other guest, Professor Nokzola Mdende. And to be clear, I'm playing devil's advocate here, trying to, put a spotlight on both sides of the arguments. Professor Mdende, welcome to 702 Breakfast, and thank you for your time. It's a pity we didn't start this conversation together, but here we are. You are of the view that the inflammatory remarks made by Mr. Mchunu notwithstanding, in general, you're opposed to the idea of same-sex couples wearing this kind of regalia at their ceremonies. What's your point of view?
I thank you so much, and your listeners. I just want to correct one thing. What I agree with Gizwe Mchunu is the fact that marriage between two people of the same sex is, to me personally, I don't promote it, but not the inflammable things that you are saying. Yes. So what I'm saying that it is if you can give me just 1 minute, what I'm saying that is that the democracy that people are crazy about today and the laws that are being passed are unfortunately concentrating on individualism and not on the effects of the people around the individual. In fact, these laws are destroying the unity of the people. And wherever we are, Bongani, in South Africa, I don't want to talk about outside, in South Africa, because we're talking about our constitution. What is important amongst us is the genealogy. We must know where you come from, and so on and so on. And unfortunately, also, marriage with us, it is a union between two families and not between two individuals. The reason is between two families is because this child must have an identity that is going to be proud of, must know who is the mother, who is the father, who is the maternal grandmother, who is the paternal grandmother, and so on and so on. So if now we're talking about marriage between two homosexuals, it is unfortunately that there will be no children there. Even if they talk about adoption, you are adopting a child whom you don't know the blood relationship with. So this is destroying the family structures. This is destroying the family relationships. This is destroying the cultures because you have got a foreign language that we're having now. So what I agree, and also when it comes
I've got to come in there.
regalia,
I've got to come in there, and we'll come to the regalia in a moment, Professor Mdende.
Okay.
But does culture not belong to all who claim it? And isn't there something objectionable to the idea that African culture is often framed as something that doesn't evolve, that is frozen in a moment in time? If people are saying, this is who we are, this is what our identity is, and we are also proudly part of this culture, why shouldn't they claim all of those aspects of themselves?
it is unfortunate that this question all focuses on the indigenous peoples of this world, because if you can go to India, you know a Maharaj. If you can go to the Islamic State, they are communal. They know what they are doing. Why this thing is always, this destruction is always followed by the Africans? Because this child, even the language, now today, among the African cultures, even the role participations, there are people who are specified to do that. You can't have a girl who is being married wearing ingawe, that blanket, because not everyone wears ingawe, and there is a specific age and a specific reason for someone to wear this particular regalia when it comes to the performance of rituals. So this thing now is destroying everything. We are just like butterflies in the forest.
Let me ask Professor Lwando, Dr. Scott, to come back in. Dr. Scott, are you still there?
Yes.
You've heard Professor Mdende, who says this is destroying African culture. Why are people allowed? Exactly all the reasons I posed to you earlier, that these clothes, particularly the regalia, have specific meanings, and when you use them out of their original context, she says it's objectionable. What's your view?
Well, my view is, good morning, Professor. Thank you for joining our conversation. I mean, there's a number of lines there. One of them is, the word you just used now, original, right? That in itself is contested because, the original use of something, changes over time. So this idea that, that these cultural practices have been what we think they are, or how we practice them in 2025, or how people see them in 2025, have been the same, for the past 100 years, which of course it's not fact, right? The fact is all of these traditional regalia, if you want, traditional ceremonies, traditional, garb, changes over time. And these changes are made by social pressures, economic pressures, political rule. What happened in South Africa during the colonial period, what happened in South Africa during apartheid, affected the ways in which Africans, practice culture. And so to say, that, people like Mchunu have the authority of what was, what was, right? So we start talking about time, we start talking about originality, we start talking about, how things move, how things change, how things are read.
Yeah.
So the ways in which we read culture, the way in which we read, things in 2025 is certainly not the same way we did
before,
20,
all right,
40, 100 years ago.
All right, Dr.
And
Scott,
so,
I think we've got the gist of what you are saying there. I'll let you have the last word, Professor Mdende. I suppose many South Africans will look at all of this and say, hang on, ultimately, the law of our land is premised on the Constitution, which promises and guarantees human rights, equality, and dignity for all, whatever your personal inclination. Isn't that the final arbiter of all of this?
Bongani, it's a pity my fellow Africans are betraying us, because you will never find that in the Muslim community, finding two gentlemen married, or two women, let us put it like that, not on gender lines, two women married and having that head of an imam, or in Jewish community, that what they put on the head, I don't know his name, I'm sorry, I'm not undermining that, putting them on a marriage. So you only find us this thing of confusion amongst us as Africans, because we think that dynamism means to be like the West. And unfortunately, this constitution is an imported constitution that is destroying, I repeat it, that is destroying African culture.
So constitution be damned. This should not happen.
That constitution is not ours, Bongani. It's meant to confuse, to dismantle the best of the African culture.
All right,
because
Professor.
Now you find our children being scattered like sand in the sea.
Okay, Professor Nogzola Mdende, appreciate your time. I'm going to leave it to our listeners, 702 Landers, wherever you are, where you sit on this debate. Appreciate both my guests joining us there, Dr. Lwando Scott from the University of the Western Cape and Professor Nogzola Mdende from the Ikamagu Heritage Institute.
EWN Business.
Okay, let's quickly look at the markets now with Muteo Khwarepe. Good morning again, Muteo.
Morning, Bongs. Marginal gains for the JSE yesterday, up 109,000 points. Yesterday, driven by banking stocks, which were up close to 1%. Mining shares also up more than 1%. Industrials, though, disappointing yesterday, down 1%. Mondi down 16%, the biggest loser on the market yesterday. I'll bring you that full story at 8:30. Sappi was down 11%, while MTN Group was down 1.8%. A better day for DRD Gold, up 5%. Advotech up 3.5%, while ShopRite was up 2.5%. The rand at this hour, 17 rand 18 cents against the US dollar, still quite weaker against the US currency, at 20 rand 8 cents against the euro, and 23 rand 12 cents against the British pound. Price of gold at $3,962 an ounce, while platinum is at $1,627. Brent crude at $65.52 a barrel. Full bulletin after 8.
Time now for your latest Eyewitness News. Straight to the news desk. Swiss Zulu Home Affairs in the headlines for all the wrong reasons.
That's right, Bongani. That's why the Civil Movement Soil of Africa says many citizens whose IDs have been blocked have lost faith in the Home Affairs Department. Frustrated citizens, joined by members of the organization, marched to the department's head office in Tshwane yesterday, protesting against what they say are thousands of IDs that have been unfairly blocked. The movement says the department's lack of urgency and commitment to resolving the 18-year-old issue has left many feeling hopeless. The ordeal comes after the department blocked more than 2 million IDs that were flagged for potential fraud. Tandoluhle Ngobo reports.
Disgruntled citizens hurled insults at the Home Affairs Department officials who vowed to resolve their matter of blocked IDs with urgency. The protesters say they no longer trust the department's promises, adding that only visible action and not words will restore their faith. Organization representing people whose IDs have been lost, Soil for Africa, say it's no surprise that the people do not trust what they have been told. Deputy Chairperson Sidiwa Nabiyana.
I can tell you now, these people are more disgruntled than ever because they've lost hope in the operations of the Home Affairs.
The organization has expressed concern that the prolonged impact on young people who have been affected could drive them to extreme frustrations that could lead them to self-harm. Thandol Ngcobo, Eyewitness News.
DA leader John Steenhuisen has warned against voting for smaller parties, which he says only prolongs the suffering of residents in struggling municipalities. He says voters in unstable metros with poor service delivery, such as Nelson Mandela Bay, have to give one party an outright majority if they want to see meaningful change and political stability. Steenhuisen was addressing party supporters in Gqeberha in the Nelson Mandela Bay metro yesterday after announcing Retief Ordendal as the party's mayoral candidate to contest next year's local government elections.
And then people come along and they form other parties. Rise and Zansi, they didn't rise in the last election. It's like just my souffle, it never rises. They don't get it right. And you know what ends up happening? Thousands upon thousands of our people go and vote for those parties. And where are they today? Did they put a single tap on? Did they put a single kilowatt of electricity in your home?
The murder-trial of ANC politician Cindy Somagaqa has delayed once again as the state fights to remove one of the lawyers from the case. The matter returned to the Pietermaritzburg High Court for trial yesterday, where alleged mastermind Stendis Khosana appeared with his co-accused for the first time. But the prosecution says the presence of advocate Shane Matthews may affect trial proceedings. Nhlanhla Mabaso was in court.
Former Umzimkhulu municipal manager Stendis Khosana has been joined with co-accused Sibonelo Mieza and Mbulelo Mpofana in the high-profile murder case. The group is charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder, among other charges, in relation to the 2017 murder of ANC councillor Cindy Somagaqa. However, during court proceedings, lead state prosecutor advocate Lawrence Tsaba told the court that he will bring an application to have advocate Shane Matthews withdraw from the case. This as Matthews previously represented Sibusiso Ngcengwa, who is now a state witness. The case has been postponed to the 7th of November for the state to bring its application. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Pietermaritzburg.
And a lawyer in India has thrown a shoe at the country's Chief Justice after apparently being angered by remarks the judge made about Hinduism. Rakesh Kishore launched his attack in court proceedings in Delhi yesterday in what is seen across India as a serious public insult and security breach. Kishore was heard saying India won't tolerate insults to Sanat Dharma Hinduism as he was led away from the courtroom by security officials. He was later suspended from practice. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures are at lows of 12 and 14 degrees, peaking at highs between 28 and 30.
And the traffic, we've got a major accident seen on the N12 East near Klipprivier Drive. It's causing heavy traffic volumes coming out of the Uncle Charlie's interchange while travelling on the N3 North. Bumper-to-bumper traffic between the Geldenays interchange and the Baklu turn-off due to roadworks.
The top story, the SAWA civil movement, Soil of Africa, says many people whose IDs have been blocked have lost faith in the Home Affairs Department.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
We have Julius Malemo. Should he also still be part of that ad hoc committee given the fact that he's now a convicted criminal?
He did indicate that he's going to appeal the verdict against him. But if then we want to promote ethical leadership in South Africa, tomorrow if our hands are found to be in a cookie jar, he's supposed to not to participate. And then until he wait, there will be other opportunities in the future.
Professor Jacob Mufokeng, independent crime and security expert.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Zansi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for the mind-blowing 120 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday? Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 120 million jackpot today for your chance at winning big millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za. the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, push up, play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
It is said that listening to Mozart could boost intelligence. So we at RMB bought this extended radio spot to give you 30 seconds of Mozart just to get some thinking done. That was nice, huh? Just some time to think. Well, that is precisely what we do at RMB. Invest in the time to think of smarter solutions for our clients. RMB. Solutionists love company. RMB is a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Medical care, like music, needs continuity, a steady rhythm and pattern. Patients attended to on time. Medication taken as prescribed. Cut the rhythm, and it falls apart. Right now, global funding cuts are restricting access to healthcare. With your support, Doctors Without Borders can continue to provide medical care to communities worldwide. Because medicine, like music, only works when uninterrupted. Doctors Without Borders. We go there.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Oh, Bongani, good morning with the team. This guy is quite disappointing. I was really hoping for someone who's going to tell us if culturally this is right or wrong. Something similar to what I would have expected from Mam Nokzol. I don't know why she's not answering her phone, but we don't want someone who's going to come with more questions, but someone who's going to, put us on the straight and narrow in as far as culture is concerned. Can same-sex couples, or should they? And if someone like Mr. whatever Kunu says no, we want to understand why. And if therefore this guy is on the side of they should, then tell us from a cultural point of view, not why now. I mean, what kind of argument is that? Why now? Yeah, now. We want to know now, or Tunu is talking about this now. So he's a disappointment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to say that out loud, but let me take a stab at it. And I try to ask the questions in a way that would really allow both guests to engage with the issue and share their views without inserting myself. And now that we've done that, the guide for me, ultimately, in terms of public life in South Africa, has to be the law of the land. And that is all based on the Constitution, which guarantees human rights, equality, and dignity for all. The Constitution doesn't care about your personal beliefs or opinions about what people may choose to do if they are acting within the law. I also believe a culture belongs to all who claim that particular culture. We think of this as if it's, the 10 Commandments. There are so many things that people might consider culture today that ancestors living 300-400 years ago, I'm not even talking about 1,000 years ago, 300-400 years ago, might find completely foreign and confusing. And they might say, when did you begin to adopt those practices? Because what is the very definition of culture? Somebody says, hey guys, this is a good idea for this or that purpose. I'll give you one example. One of the things that I know about why, for example, widows tend to wear black clothing in many African cultures, particularly in South Africa, some of it began during the Rinderpest, when a lot of people lost their cattle and their livestock. And there were all these widows with no one to take care of. And to distinguish between people who were hungry, who still had other options like husbands and family, the missionaries asked all the believers, firstly, to don the black as a way to be able to at least help the widows first. That was the origin of that. Today, people who are widows may choose to don the black with no idea about how that tradition began. You see what I mean? These things evolve. And I, as a gay African man, find it laughable that people will think African culture is so fragile as to be threatened by what clothes people choose to put on.
702.
What's the question?
What's the question is brought to you by Outsurance, and it's your chance to win up to 3,000 Rand in cash. First 1,000 Rand for the answer, and then a little later 2,000 Rand if you can give us the question. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask Outsurance for 500 Rand. Today's answer comes from Guhle. Guhle, what's today's answer, please?
The answer to the question is 1967.
You must sing it and go 1967. You know the way that. Anyway, that gives a clue. Guhle, have you got yourself a quote from Outsurance?
Yes, I have.
Your biscuit, 1,000 Rand is coming your way, all thanks to 702 and Outsurance. There you have it. Today's answer is 1967. What's the question? Call us if you know on 011 883 0702.
EWN Sport.
Beautiful bounce back by the Proteas women, Cindy Paluta, in the World Cup. Yep.
Absolutely stunning. They thrashed New Zealand by 6 wickets. Chasing 232, Tasman Brits' phenomenal form continues. She smashed her 5th century, the most by any player in a calendar year in women's ODIs.
Oh, wow.
Brits' partnership with Sine Luce worth 159 as Liz was unbeaten on 83. Brits admits it was sort of easy but hard start.
I thought that was a good chase. I thought, I think it's a good wicket. I think it was a batting wicket. So I think they were actually a bit short of runs. I definitely think like maybe a 280 would have worked. I think in the beginning it was a bit more tacky, but I think our bowlers executed very, very well. I think they bowled great line and lengths and they put the pressure on.
Proteas next play the unbeaten India on Thursday, while the men leave for Pakistan today for a series that includes 2 tests, 3 20s and 3 ODIs. Aidan Markram's the stand-in captain, says he hasn't given much thought to the fact that they go in as world champs.
I suppose you do create a bit of a target on your back if you've won, so it's completely fair if that is the case. And from our point of view, we want to chase that again and we want to lift that same trophy once again. So each team will come for you. You as a team as well have to keep getting better and improving and play well in all different types of conditions. And yeah, it'll start for us in Pakistan, and it's a challenge that the boys will be up for.
Bafana called up Mdu Shabalala to replace the injured Rele Mofokeng ahead of their must-win FIFA World Cup qualifiers with Zimbabwe and Rwanda. Bafana, who were docked 3 points for fielding an ineligible player, must win their 2 games to go to the USA. Coach Hugo Bros.
There are no doubts. There have never been doubts from my side. And I will try to transfer that to the group tomorrow at the meeting we have, like always. I believe in that group, and I'm sure that on Friday they will do everything to win that game.
And the Bulls have named their strongest possible side as they hit the road in the United Rugby Championship. They won't have captain Marcel Coetzee, who failed his head injury assessment. Johan Grobler will captain the side. There's 13 Springboks in the touring team, including Andre Pollard, Wilco Low and Kanan Moody. Kurtley Arendse stays home with a hamstring injury. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
In a world where everything is instant, some things are worth slowing down for. You took the time to build a life of distinction. Every moment, every milestone, every decision. At Indwe, we take the time to understand your world and craft insurance solutions to protect it. Because true peace of mind is the greatest luxury of all. The right insurance starts with a conversation. It starts with helloindwe.co.za. Indwe Risk Services is an authorized financial services provider.
Great news, travelers! FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launch pad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
EWN Traffic.
11 to 8, the CWN Traffic brought to you by the new Opel Grandland with smart tech and striking design. It's German engineering on a grand scale. Test drive one today at your nearest Opel dealer. Delays on the M1 North. Amo, what's going on?
Well, it's peak time delays, Bongani. This is between the Boysons Road exit all the way towards Greyston Drive. A stop and go between these 2 points. So please be patient if you're traveling along this route. While driving on the N3 North, we still have got those roadworks right near the Baklui interchange. Delays from Vincent Chabalala Road in the Alexandra area. If you are traveling in the city of Tshwane, we've got some delays reported on the N1 South coming out of the Flying Saucer interchange towards Water Avenue. This is due to roadworks along this route, so please be on the lookout there and continue driving with care. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Great entrance? Forget that. Make a grand entrance. Grand! Be late, make everyone wait, and be grateful they did. Peeps be rubbernecking, staring gormlessly like deer in your 50,000 intelligent LED headlights. Grand! Make a grand entrance in the new Opel Grandland, designed and made in Germany. Achtung, baby. Grand! It's even got massage seats. Uber grand! Visit opel.co.za for more.
702.
What's the question?
For 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to Outsurance, please tell me, what's the question? The answer is 1967. Let's go to Mudise in Germiston. Mudise, what's the question?
In which year was the R&B singer Toni Braxton born?
Yes, indeed. On this day in 1967, she remains one of the best-selling artists of all time. Mudise, what's your favorite Toni Braxton song?
You should have been home tonight. I always play.
Love should have brought you home. Do you know that song was originally written for Anita Baker? It was, of course, on the soundtrack of the Boomerang album, and it's the one that launched her career. Modise, 2,000 Rand is coming your way, all thanks to 702 and Outsurance. Will it? Oh man, it launched the career of Toni Braxton, who celebrates her birthday today.
You could spend 10 minutes waiting for the microwave to beep, or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Suzuki Jimny, 55-year-old Stefan now pays only 611 Rand a month. And for her 2024 Kia Sonet, 31-year-old Palisa pays just 926 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Good morning, Bongani. Good morning, 702. I agree with Professor Ndende. What she's saying is 100% true. It's more or less like punishing somebody lineage. When a girl married to a girl and when a boy married to a boy, at the end of the day, two of them end up perishing and nothing good comes out of it. That culture from the West is ruining Africa, is ruining our orientation from the days of our forefathers. This was never existed. It's the culture from the West that is destroyed. That constitution from the West is destroying our children, is destroying our future great Africa. Thank you. Solomon from Johannesburg.
Hi, Bongani and team. Regarding the same-sex marriage thing, I think for me, I am a firm believer in I was born this way. And I sorry, but I do have certain limits, but I do believe there are people that are born that way. But my point here is these people are kids. They have parents. It's someone's son. It's someone's daughter. And I think it is blocking out a certain group and a certain family just because you don't agree with just the one child. How is it going to be when you say yes to the one and no to the other? That in its own creates problems. And I think that's what we should not forget, that these are someone's children.
Look, it's a difficult thing and I think we've got to be clear about what the law of the land allows, right? So I think that debate is settled. The law of the land is not going to change. But whose traditional regalia is it anyway? How do you claim to be a part of a culture that excludes the very people who would claim it, who would promote it? And what culture is it that is so fragile, that is threatened by who wears its regalia? And I think it's one of the most ignorant things to suggest that sexual orientation is something that began with colonialism. I mean, I'm a Xhosa man, and I know of no other culture that drips with colonial influence, Victorian influence specifically, than the Xhosas have adopted because of those colonial influences. If you think about what men are required to do when they come of age, right? A man must wear a bike. He must wear a hat. All of those things. And they're not static. You raise Uhinza from the dead and you show him what you call Xhosa culture today, he'd be horrified. And that's okay.
702.
702. What's gone viral?
With Kabazela.
Kabazela in his full traditional regalia. Not offending anyone with what he is wearing today.
No, business up front and party at the bottom, I suppose. Good morning to you, Pele, and good morning to our 702 family.
I think I have a headache.
Yes, and you might know somebody in the office who always has a tablet to give you, right? So this video that I saw gave me a laugh because the woman says, I went to a coworker, asked her for a painkiller, and took the painkiller, and a couple of moments later, she started spinning and her world went elsewhere, which is very, very funny, I must say. And reading these comments here on this video, if you go to a colleague and you ask them for a painkiller, maybe you've got a headache, migraine, toothache, a sore back, whatever it may be. There's two. I'm going to read you three comments here. One woman says, had a toothache and she gave me 2 Tramadol tablets. I saw God that day. Another woman says, oh my God, I will never forget Adcodol. I was like, damn girl, are you on tick? Never again. And then my favorite one here, it says, a few years ago, one coworker gave another coworker a painkiller. The recipient fell asleep at her desk, couldn't be awakened, and her husband arrived, loaded her into the car and rushed her to the doctor. Doctor advised her to sleep it out. She woke up almost 18 hours later, very confused. So these things can happen, right? You go to a colleague, say, yes, I'm looking for a painkiller, please. Yeah, sure. Opens the desk or her bag or his desk and hands you a tablet and you think it's going to be great. And then it knocks you out. So who is that one person that you go to at the office when you have a little ache or pain and they gladly say to you, here's a painkiller? Or are you that person at the office who always dishes out a painkiller when it's needed?
All right. Are you the office pharmacist? Who is that office pharmacist in your workplace? Let us know.
The stage, the lights, the crowd, everything's perfect until suddenly someone slips on the dance floor. A speaker lands in the buffet. In an instant, your masterpiece is a mess. That's why Auto & General is there with events liability insurance. We handle the unexpected so you don't have to. Plan the party, wow the guests, leave the rest to us. For more information on events liability insurance, visit autogen.co.za. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and citizens to walk the talk. Catch it this Wednesday at 10 to 9 featuring Investec CEO Kumesh Mudlia. We do this to highlight efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Let's walk the talk and together make a difference.
702.
702.
Feedback.
With Rupfiwa Kone.
Rupfiwa Kone,
yeah, Bobo.
in your traditional regalia?
What?
Just wearing a Bart Simpson t-shirt.
My mom would be very angry with you right now.
No, I'm joking. It's a joke. It's a heated debate. Not all 702 landers agreeing on this one.
Oh, Bongani, it's so heated in the background, Bongani, with people reacting to that big interview saying, with some saying, rather, everybody deserves the right to live authentically and express their identity with pride. Sexual orientation should never prevent anyone from embracing or celebrating their culture, even if certain traditions may not align perfectly with their personal lives. At the same time, however, many people feel Ngizwe Mkhono has the right to express his views as he believes his cultural values are being challenged. Just at the same time that the members of the LGBTQI plus community have the right to live freely and love freely. Others have also have the right to hold and express their cultures and beliefs.
Look, I'll be very clear. I mean, we can have the debate around whether or not you can incorporate traditional cultures and values in all kinds of relationships. But to be very clear, the remarks that Mkhono made were not only offensive, they're outright dangerous. They can be a matter of life and death for some people whose lives have been lost because of that kind of prejudice. So that for me is not even the issue at question here. But how do we incorporate tradition into new ways of thinking about ourselves, about our identities, and a culture that must necessarily evolve and adapt? More of your responses after this Eyewitness News.
This is EWN.
Members of Parliament will explore why there's corruption at the RAF, and Natim Tetra's family still has questions about his death. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. An inquiry into finances and governance at the Road Accident Fund is one of two parliamentary inquiries set to start today. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts will probe the finances and governance at the entity, which has led the backlogs or two backlogs and suspected fraud in the claims process. Scopa says the inquiry has been necessitated by the entity not providing it with credible information after a year of scrutiny. The tenure of former RAF CEO Collins Litswalo ended in August while he was on suspension for snubbing the committee. Lindsay Dentlinka takes a look.
The RAF inquiry is not set to hear evidence from witnesses for at least another week. The committee will start its inquiry over 3 days this week with orientation presentations from the fund, the Department of Transport under which it falls, and the offices of the Chief Procurement Officer, Accountant General, the Auditor General, and the Special Investigating Unit. The inquiry will then focus its attention on the backlog of unpaid and rejected claims, as well as inefficiencies in the process. Allegations of corruption involving law firms and judges are also on the agenda, as well as the protracted suspension of employees without resolution. Next week, the committee will investigate procurement matters, including the awarding of legal, media and marketing contracts worth R1 billion. Scopa chairperson Zongezo Zibi said previously the committee planned to call both former and present board members and executives of the fund to get a full picture of where the problem started. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Johannesburg City Power and the Hawks are set to face off in the High Court today over recent search and seizure operations at the utilities headquarters. City Power wants the court to declare the operations unlawful, claiming the search warrants used were invalid. Over the past 2 months, the Hawks have raided City Power's offices twice as part of an ongoing investigation into several questionable contracts totaling more than R500 million. Alfara Mushwana reports.
The latest Hawks search and seizure at City
City Power's offices was triggered by a questionable 64 million rand contract for the supply of electricity transformers. However, the transformers were never delivered by the agreed deadline of December 2023, despite payments having been made. Last week, the Hawks visited the utilities headquarters to obtain a purchase order related to the contract in question. In its court application, City Power is seeking the return of all documents, data and devices seized during the Hawks' recent operation. The utility argues that the warrant authorized mirror imaging of all its digital systems and communications, despite the investigation being limited to just 1 or 2 transactions. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
Ambassador Natim Tetwa's family say they will only find peace once they know the truth about his cause of death. His body was found at a hotel in Paris last week after he had allegedly jumped from the 22nd floor. 58-year-old Ntetwa's body is expected to be brought home to South Africa this week. Nhlanhla Mabasa reports.
At this stage, investigators from both South Africa and France have completed investigations on Ambassador Natim Tetwa's body, but the cause of his death remains a mystery to his family as they await a final report for closure. Family spokesperson Sfiso Buthelezi was among those who identified his body in Paris last week.
They are done with performing autopsy. What we're expecting from that report, we want to find the scientific outcome of exactly what happened. That's all what we expect.
The South African government also sent out a team of investigators to France to thoroughly probe this death. Meanwhile, the Mtetwa relatives in Kwambonambi, northern KwaZulu-Natal, say proper plans for the burial will get underway as soon as the body is home. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
And more than 200 people left stranded by a blizzard near the eastern face of Mount Everest are still being evacuated. It comes after some 350 trackers were guided to safety during an initial rescue operation, which was launched after unusually heavy snowfall and rain struck the Himalayas last weekend. Reuters is reporting that the evacuations are expected to be completed today. Those rescued so far have been escorted to a small town close to the base camp on Everest's Tibetan side. Gold is trading at $3,962.75 an ounce. The rand is at 17.18 to the dollar, 23.12 to the pound, 29 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $65.57 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy traffic volumes on the N3 North, both directions between Marlborough Drive and the Baklu interchange due to roadworks. That accident we spoke about earlier along the N12 East near Klipprivier Drive has been moved to the side of the road. Traffic is now flowing along that route.
And in your sport, Tasman, Brit's the first woman to smash 5 centuries in a calendar year as the Proteas beat New Zealand by 6 wickets at the Women's World Cup. Bafana under pressure to beat Zimbabwe and Rwanda over the next week. And Johann Grobler will captain the Bulls as they hit the road for the URC.
A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 28 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, an inquiry into finances and governance at the Road Accident Fund, is one of 2 parliamentary inquiries that are set to start today.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
7 minutes after 8 o'clock, doesn't it feel like it's the age or the year of inquiries, right? Another one looking now into the road accident set to begin today. Remember the last time we spoke to Songezo Zibi in his position as the chair of SCOPA, saying they were going to scrutinize the finances of the Road Accident Fund. This, of course, as the ad hoc committee looking into the allegations of police interference and infiltration by criminal cartels also is set to begin its work. It is the age of inquiries, is it not? More of your reactions from our earlier conversation about whose culture is it anyway. A recent storm has been stirred, the hornet's nest, if you will. Traditionalists holding on to the idea that you cannot incorporate traditional clothing, for example, and symbols into same-sex marriages because there's no place for such in traditional African culture. Many would, and I would be one of them, would rejoinder that and say, hang on, culture belongs to all who claim it. There are no holy prophets, right, of culture. You cannot exclude people who would claim that culture. And it says something about yours if it's as fragile as being threatened by who wears what clothes as an expression of it. Where is your view on this? We'll take your calls on 011 883 0702, your WhatsApp voice notes on 072 702 1702.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
9 minutes after 8 o'clock, another story to watch out for is unfolding in the U.S. So I want to play you a clip from last week, Tuesday, when the U.S. President Donald Trump suggested that he would deploy the National Guard, essentially the army, to American cities as training grounds. I mean, just listen to that phrase, training grounds. You would deploy the army against your citizens to prepare them for conflict with enemies. It's an extraordinary development. Have a listen to the threat, and I'll tell you about the reality.
I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, stupid governor, stupid. They threw him out of his family business. He was so stupid. I know the family. He becomes governor. He's got money. Not money that he made, but he ran for governor, he won, and now he criticizes us all the time. And last week they had 11 people murdered.
All right, I'm going to just fade that out because of that interference there. But he was talking, of course, about sending National Guard troops to several cities, Washington, D.C., Memphis, Portland, amongst others. Many of these, of course, Democrat-run cities, and he's citing a high crime rate and lawlessness there. And many Americans, of course, who would be concerned that what we're beginning to see unfold there is the beginning of autocratic rule. Handmaid's Tale, anyone?
You're with Bongani Bingwa on 702.
Taking your calls on 011 883 0702.
All right, we're taking your calls on 011 883 0702, and we'll also take your WhatsApp voice notes on 072 702 1702. Kabazela also wants to know, who's the pharmacist in your office? Who's that go-to person when somebody has a headache, when you're feeling a bit of discomfort, who's always dispensing pills and offering medications? Amo, why do I look suspiciously at you?
You think it's me? I actually do have a random Panado or Allergex or food, because sometimes when somebody's tired or they're feeling like they need something to eat, it's not always that you've got a headache. It's just you need to eat something. So I'll have a chocolate bar or So I think I am the go-to person. Though it's not a lot of people that come to me for that. But when someone complains about a headache or whatever, I'll offer something.
Muteo?
Now more will come to you. I'm not that person, but I gave Amo a look because I definitely have seen her giving out pills before to some people in the office. So.
You do know how dangerous that can be.
But I asked them, do you usually take Allergex? Do you take Panados if you have a headache? If they say yes, then I offer them.
Do you do sick notes?
Yes. Thank you very much. Let's take your calls. Chief Makanya, who's also a cultural expert, is joining us to weigh in on our earlier discussion. Chief Makanya, no doubt you would have heard our two guests on this issue. What are your views?
Well, I totally disagree with them. You know, when it comes to culture, Bongani, we forget that it is an identity. It's an identity card. It is a source of identifying myself. And through my norms and those norms and value systems that I have accepted to identify with. It's like being Islam. I cannot be Islam and then go and wear a kurta and be in a pork cookout. I'll be killed. I cannot. There are things that if I'm a member of a certain grouping of people, if I need to identify with that grouping of people, there are things that I should not do that will go against what those rules within that culture say. So yes, we usually butcher religion because we believe that we have custodial rights to it. But yes, you do. To identify with it, you have to live within the constraints of its rules and regulations, as so not to put that institution or that culture into disrepute. Otherwise, we are just playing.
I couldn't disagree with you more, because many of these institutions and the gatekeepers of the traditional views of those institutions are being challenged all the time. There are many gay Muslims who challenge views about Islam and their sexuality, just as there may be Catholics who will do the same. And I think equally here, any culture that aims to exclude people on the basis of what was once accepted by a dominant part of that culture cannot survive in the long run, because all these things evolve and they adapt and they change. It's not fixed. It's not cast in stone.
No, Bongani, it is cast in stone. You see, when it's like when you are wanting to be recognized as a nation, there are things within that nation that Constitutional Court wants to understand, and the presidency wants to understand. I'm speaking of a process of you being identified within that culture as a king, or that culture as it is. Now, if then we come in, because we don't take it seriously, we'll take a membership of the ANC seriously because we know there'll be repercussions. But we tend to say within the culture, norms and value systems, it is just a play. I can change them at willy and nilly.
Of course you can.
Time.
Of course you can. I mentioned the example. Let me explain. I mentioned the example of, and I'll speak about a culture I'm familiar with. As a Xhosa man, many of our coming-of-age rituals are steeped in Victorian values that have nothing to do with the original Xhosa cultures. Everything from what Ikhwala or even Umfana, when they come out of Ukweluga, wear, right? All those things, the symbolisms, all of those symbols are contained in adopted ideals. And those things are, again, evolving. And I think similarly here, because Chief Makanya, you've got to ask questions about a culture that is so weak it gets threatened by who wears its clothes. Surely that is an actual insult to African culture.
No, it's actually protection of our African culture, norms and value systems.
What's a norm? I mean, the whole idea of normative is that what is to you may be different to me.
Not in identifying with a certain culture, Bongani. If I'm Zulu,
of course,
there are things that my boys cannot do that will be against my norms and values.
Because you're imposing it on them. Because you're imposing it on them.
Culture. No, Bongani. you need to understand the culture that you are identifying with.
I do.
In order for then as a custodian of that culture, norms and value systems, I need to protect it. Uguti, there are things that my boys cannot do. Because what is the culture that cannot be preserved?
A culture is preserved by as many people as will sign up to identify with it. As long as you exclude people based on the norms of a few, a select few, you guarantee that culture will die out.
EWN Traffic.
To be clear, he dropped the phone, not me. 17 after 8, this Eyewitness News Traffic brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. And you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Roadworks on the N3 North.
That's correct, Bongani. They're causing delays between Vincent Chabalala Road in the Alexandria area towards the Baklu interchange. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling in Edenville, we've got an accident on the R24 West that happened right near the N12 merge. It's causing delays coming out of the Edenville Road exit. And if you're traveling on the M1 South, we've got delays between Marlborough Drive and Corlett Drive. There's also queuing traffic along the M1 North between Boysons and Empire Road. We'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a family driving to their new home, carrying boxes stacked with plates and toys and memories. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a new beginning, a fresh start on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Mr. Govender, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter. Geared for you.
57-year-old Andy knows a good deal when he sees it. With insurance, he now pays only 1,083 Rand a month for his 2024 Ford Ranger. And after a few minutes on the phone, insurance gave 48-year-old Felicity a mind-blowing premium of just 836 Rand a month for her 2020 Hyundai Tuscan. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 45142 now. That's out to 45142. A licensed insurer and FSP.
Alarm goes off, but silently. And now you're late for everything. Leave. Cancel the day before you leave.
I knew it.
1 tick, 2 ticks, blue tick. Hectic.
Yeah, I'm going to need a mac and cheese.
Adulting is hard. Instead of curling up or crashing out, try the new Nando's mac and cheese with delicious cheesy bechamel sauce, topped with crispy peri crumble. Get it as a side with any meal or by itself. Because you're just a baby.
For the first time ever, the G20 summit is being hosted on African soil. A global moment of solidarity, equality, and sustainability, and Africa is at the center. So tune in for the G20 Correspondence Desk on 702, brought to you by RMB and FNB on Fridays on Breakfast. News, views, insights, and breakthroughs. The G20 Correspondence Desk on 702, brought to you by RMB and FNB.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
702 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
Ilyushin Il-76, operated by Moscow-based Abakan Air, touched down in Uppington last week, carrying general cargo, civilian helicopters, and acrobatic materials before refueling at Lanseria Airport, departing empty. The Department of Transport says it approved the flight despite U.S. sanctions, and it's raised questions about what this might mean for South Africa's already tense relationship with Washington and our international positioning. We're joined now by Colin Msibi, who is the spokesperson for the Department of Transport. A very good morning to you, and as always, thank you for your time.
Hi, good morning, and thanks for having us.
There's been some objections about the landing of this flight, what it was carrying, and why it was allowed to dock in South Africa, given U.S. sanctions. What's the Department of Transport's explanation for this?
Well, we've been transparent about the process. I think we came out and stated quite clearly what was the cargo in the flight, but secondly, the process that was followed in terms of issuing the permit. But we've also just said that, look, the issue of blacklisting, the so-called blacklisting, we don't have a record of it being reported to us that it has been blacklisted, but more so, it is not blacklisted by the South African government. So we cannot prejudice an operator on the basis of the information that we don't have.
So are you saying that it's our position then that even if an airline is blacklisted under the U.S. sanctions, given the Russia-Ukraine conflict, they'd be free to land here in South Africa?
That's it. Our duty as transport, it is to process a permit. There isn't anything that says we must. We don't have any provisions that says go out and look for any other conditions other than what's on the legislation in terms of granting a permit. So in our legislation, there isn't anything therefore that says we're gonna have to go and vet whoever comes to us for a permit. So in this case, if there were issues of blacklisting, that would have obviously been reported to our government, and therefore would then be told in terms of what needs to happen. There's been a blacklisting, and then we need to take that into account.
Sure. All I'm asking simply is, if I understood your answer earlier, and I may have been wrong, but if I did, if I did understand it, are you saying that as far as our rules and regulations are concerned, if an aircraft meets all of our terms, they may land whether or not they are sanctioned by the US, for example?
If they meet our requirements and there isn't any message that says there's been a specific information that has been relayed to the South African government that this airline is blacklisted. Therefore, we will grant that particular permit because we're not. We're simply just it's like we're a mechanism in the process. So if there isn't anyone who says something to us in terms of government, because we speak from government to government, I don't know if the U.S. government has said anything to our government with regards to this operator. And from what it is now, we don't have any information of that sort.
Sure. I mean, of course, one would imagine that would happen if said government was able to anticipate that that airline might want to operate here. But what I'm asking is there some kind of consideration about which airlines may or may not be blacklisted, particularly, of course, if you consider the country of origin?
Well, certainly the issue of the safety listing is a factor in the aviation sector. And of course...
but not for political reasons.
Political reasons. For instance, I read something that says they are owing somewhere 1.7 million something. And certainly we are not a financial service agency. So we don't have to go and check people's credits. So we look at the issues of safety. And in this regard, this one, there wasn't anything. But the issue of safety listing is an issue. If there is something that comes up and it is flagged with us, certainly we'll take that into account. So it's not just an open book. You can come to South Africa and do whatever you want. No. But we've got to be fair because we do not, one thing we don't want to do is to open a door that leads us to the courts.
All right.
Because if somebody says, look, why am my permit not being processed and goes to court, what are we going to do?
All right. Colin Msibi, appreciate your time. Department of Transport spokesperson.
702, The World View.
With Adam Gilchrist.
On the dreaded anniversary of 7th October, Adam Gilchrist, are we closer to a peace plan in Gaza?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because today you wonder if it should be marked, certainly not celebrated, but will it play a part in the talks that are going on in Sharm el-Sheikh at the moment between, indirect talks between Hamas and Israel, and of course a lot of other countries involved. In fact, most of the Arab world is been involved at some point. But are we closer to a peace plan? Donald Trump says the chances are, as he put it, very good. He did suggest that maybe they need to get a move on, that essentially the mediators need to know that time is of the essence and to agree something now, otherwise see more bloodshed or see massive bloodshed, in the words of the American president. Well, there kind of is massive bloodshed already and has been for the past 2 or 3 years. So Donald Trump urging everyone to get a move on. One day on, a day to go today. There's no sign yet, but maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit on that.
Now, Adam, you and I would have participated in many a treasure hunt in our youth. What would coins from 1715 fetch?
Yeah, they reckon this little haul they've found in the bottom of the sea, about $1 million, which I think is actually annoyingly a tiny bit small, but it's not an enormous hoard of silver and gold coins, and silver coins are never worth quite as much as gold coins, but 1,000 or so of these coins have been found off the Treasure Coast. There's a clue in the name. Underwater off the coast of Florida. Not quite in the same realms as that stuff that we talked about before, lying underwater off the coast of Colombia. But this loot was on board a ship. They think they were coins minted in Bolivia, Mexico, and Peru at the time of the Spanish Empire. And along came a hurricane in 1715, which wrecked the ships and lost a few lives and spilt the cargo. And here we are now, 300 and something years later. Sal Gattuso of the company that's in charge of the salvage says, well, it's not about the treasure itself, it's about the stories it tells. Yeah, but it's also it's about the treasure. Let's be honest, it's about the treasure. And under Florida law, it belongs to the state of Florida. So keep your pesky hands off it, Bolivia, Mexico, Peru, Spain, and anyone else who's interested is basically their message.
Rugby Barbie, not a contradiction, Adam.
No, once upon a time, probably would have been, but the iconography has changed, hasn't it, of what a Barbie doll represents, what a Barbie doll means. I guess I'm thinking about my sister. She played with a Barbie doll just because it was a doll and she liked putting clothes on it. But I guess there were messages and so forth. And here we have a message of the England rugby star Ellie Kildunn, currently World Player of the Year, and a shining light at the Women's World Cup that's just been staged. She scored a wonder try in the final as well. As role models go, she crosses the line and touches down. And here we now finally have a Barbie in her image. A curly ash blonde mop. She's got the weird sort of hair bear bunch mop, boots that she wore during the tournament, but also a more athletic torso and sort of defined arms and legs, suggesting it's not just about being stick thin and looking like a 1950s air stewardess. It's about being an action woman. We've had a football Barbie, a gymnast Barbie, and a tennis player Barbie, but most of them are just, you know, with the accoutrement. They're not necessarily the actual, but they've defined her more this time. A rugby Barbie, doesn't that sound like something with a few tins of beer and a sausage?
We'll leave it there for this morning's Worldview. Adam Gilchrist.
EWN Business.
From rugby to culture, everything is under siege. Ooh, fear for the future, fear for the future. Mateo, you here on entirely different matters. Mondi reporting a weaker trading environment. Demand for packaging is dropping.
Yeah, paper and packaging company Mondi saw its shares drop 17% on Monday. The firm reported weak demand and falling prices across most of its pulp and paper grades. Mondi reporting a challenging third quarter due to softer volumes and declining prices. The industry has faced a prolonged downturn, including the effects of higher U.S. tariffs on the flow of global goods. So less global goods moving, less packaging needed. So Mondi has combined its uncoated fine paper business with its corrugated packaging business to form a more enlarged packaging business unit. This in order to consolidate its operations.
And another recall from a major car manufacturer.
Yeah, BMW Group South Africa has issued an urgent safety recall for more than 12,000 cars due to a possible fire hazard. The recall affects 6 of its popular BMW models sold in South Africa since 2016. These include the BMW X4, the X3, the Z4, 5 Series, 4 Series, and BMW 3 Series. Now, the German car maker says the starter motor in those models has a defect that allows water to seep through and cause corrosion. There is a concern that this can cause electrical short circuits and in some cases trigger a fire. So those that are affected are also strongly advised to go to any BMW dealership to sort this problem out.
Vroom, vroom, they said, hey? Where's the rand?
Rand at this hour, 17 Rand 20 against the US dollar, weaker this morning at 20 Rand 9 cents against the euro and at 23 Rand 12 cents against the British pound. The price of gold at $3,964 an ounce, while platinum is at $1,624. Brent crude at $65.68 a barrel. That's the morning business. Stephen Grotes with more this afternoon.
Straight to the news desk. Up next, a conversation about absent fathers at the Market Theatre. In the meantime, Swiss Zulu, what you got?
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor Babalwa Lobishe says she doesn't agree with MPs who have argued that businesses are disinvesting in Gqeberha because the city is poorly run. On the first day of parliamentary's oversight in the province, the MK party yesterday said the 50% water losses in the municipality was a crime against humanity, while the IFP said the city was stripping in corruption. Lobishe says the recent closure of the Goodyear tyre factory was not in any way related to the performance of the municipal council. Lindsay Dentlinker reports.
Despite the regression in audit opinion from an unqualified to a qualified audit, Nelson Mandela Bay municipal officials and councillors downplayed the financial mismanagement issues raised by the provincial government during a meeting with Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance. Mayor Babalwa Lobishe says the municipality is not to blame for the sluggish local economy and said while the Goodyear factory had closed, other pharmaceutical and motoring companies are expanding their footprint in the province.
To agree on disinvestment would really be misinforming Parliament.
Asked by MPs as to what kept her awake at night, Lobishe had this to say.
What keeps me awake are the financial losses at electricity and energy. Also, there's no expedience in employing on critical vacancies.
Lobishe says water losses are also concerning to her. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
The Home Affairs Department says it will collaborate with civic movement Soil of Africa to unblock IDs wrongfully suspected of fraud. Scores of members from the movement and affected individuals marched to the department's head office in Pretoria yesterday. They claim thousands of IDs were wrongfully blocked, and they say that the department is not moving fast enough to resolve the issue as required by an order of the Pretoria High Court last year. The blocked IDs crisis dates back to 2005, and the department's Deputy Director General Thomas Sigama says it's already unblocked more than 2 million IDs so far.
We will continue to work with Soil for Africa. They've indicated that they had a meeting with one of our officials, and we then make sure that we then take the documentation that they had, we evaluated them, and feedback will be provided continuously. So through your members.
The murder trial of ANC politician Sindiso Makaka has delayed once again as the state fights to remove one of the lawyers from the case. The matter returned to the Pietermaritzburg High Court for trial yesterday, where alleged mastermind Stanley Skosana appeared with his co-accused for the first time. But the prosecution says the presence of advocate Shane Matthews may affect trial proceedings. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
Former Umzimkulu municipal manager Stanley Skosana has been joined with co-accused Sibonelo Mieza and Mbulelo Mpofana in the high-profile murder case. The group is charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder, among other charges, in relation to the 2017 murder of ANC councillor Sindiso Makaka. However, during court proceedings, lead state prosecutor advocate Lawrence Tsaba told the court that he will bring an application to have advocate Shane Matthews withdraw from the case. This as Matthews previously represented Sibusiso Ngengwa, who is now a state witness. The case has been postponed to the 7th of November for the state to bring its application. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Pietermaritzburg.
In the U.S., the Supreme Court has rejected an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell against her sex trafficking conviction. Without providing an explanation, the court declined to hear the former British socialite's appeal, which means her 20-year sentence will remain in place, barring a presidential pardon. Her lawyer says they are deeply disappointed, but will continue exploring legal avenues to ensure that justice is done. Maxwell was convicted for her role in luring underage girls for her former boyfriend, the disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein, to exploit. Epstein died in prison in 2019. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 28 and 30.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the Mike North between Boysons Road and Carr Street. There's also queuing traffic along the R24 West due to an accident right near the N12 merge. Delays from Edenville Road.
The top story, Nelson Mandela Bay Mayor Babalwa Lobishe says she doesn't agree with MPs who have argued that businesses have stopped investing in Gqeberha because the city is poorly run.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Mzansi, have you bought your Powerball ticket for a mind-blowing 120 million rand estimated jackpot this Tuesday? Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 120 million rand jackpot. For your chance at winning big millions today, buy your tickets now in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda push-up play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
This thing is Bongani
Our regalia have their own identity. You see, our ancestors, they've invented these regalias that we know for a man and a woman. So even nabo, they must come up with their own identity, their regalias, and stop spitting on our own. They must ask their ancestors, gay ancestors, lesbian ancestors, to come up with their regalia. Then easily, so they can identify themselves as such people who are getting married to each other. Period. They must stop using our regalia, cultural regalia. It's that simple. Case in
Hi, Bongani. I hope you're good. I just feel like people should let people be. I'm a straight man, but I have nothing against what the other people are doing. I mean, it's their choice. It's what they want. Because if you can go back to history, women were not allowed to wear trousers, but now they do. Men were not allowed to wear shorts. I'm wearing shorts now. So, guys, like, can people just be themselves and do what they want and that makes them happy? Because even if you check culturally back then, I don't know if you can. I don't know what is it in English. I'm Xhosa. Eastern Cape ityali bezingekho then, but siyazisebenzisa ngoku as part of the culture. If you can, things are evolving, things are moving, guys. There's a lot happening out there. Let's just let people be. This is Lazarus from Pretoria.
Hi, Bongani and 702 Landers. On the issue of regalia and culture and tradition, it's a very interesting topic and one that we need to look even much more broadly without confining it to sexuality and gender. I'm just wondering what would be the response of the priesthood if two people who were wearing those black tunics which the priests wear and the collar, and they decided to put on that because in Christianity we are priests and kings in the kingdom. What would be the response? So yeah, I'm just putting it out there.
I see where you're going. It's a stretch, but I see where you're going. Perhaps let's look at it very, very differently, because what goes with culture? Surely language. And isn't it interesting how people will protect the culture, but are okay with understanding the evolution of language? Cindy Paluta, you're a first language English speaker. If I said to you, have you got the morbs? Would you know what I'm talking about?
The morbs.
The morbs. If I said, oh, that's nanty-narking. Nanty-narking. So these are Victorian slang terms. You can kind of see where got the morbs means, right? Feeling temporarily sad. Are you feeling morbid? I imagine that's where it comes from. Victorians spoke like this all the time. Have you got the morbs? They might say something is nanty-narking, which means it's not a bad thing or something to worry about. A lollygag. You're having a bit of a lollygag. This was to spend time in an unproductive way. Just being lazy, having a bit of a lollygag morning. One perhaps we've heard before, balderdash for nonsense.
Yeah.
But who says balderdash these days?
I think the only reason we know Balderdash is because there was a board game called Balderdash.
Balderdash, yes, indeed. So the point I'm making is all those terms are out of use in the English language, and yet in Victorian times, what are we talking about? Maybe 120, 150 years ago, that's how English speakers spoke. But no one today says, have you got the morbs? But I'll try that. You got the morbs?
I'm going to bring it back.
Yeah, let's bring it back. You got the morbs. We don't have the morbs, do we?
EWN Sport.
Well, I tell you what, who's not having a lollygag but really playing brilliantly is Tasman Brits.
Unbelievable year it's been for her. She etched her name in cricket's history books, her 5th century in a calendar year. That's the most by women. Her knock of 101 took the Proteas to a 6-wicket win over New Zealand, a much-needed result and performance after losing to England by 10 wickets. Also, Sine Liss was unbeaten on 83 and Mlaba took 4 wickets. Britt says it wasn't her favourite century.
This one was a bit fun. For some reason I was middling the ball a bit better, but I think the
The best century was the one in Pakistan where Kapi and I batted for those long period of time. I think that was probably the toughest century that I've had to make. Yeah, we've been having a lot of batting camps. Also the position where I stand, and also maybe just the way I play the shot a bit better. But yeah, I think I've just been working on it very hard.
Proteas next play India on Thursday, while the men leave for Pakistan today for a series that includes 2 tests, 3 T20s and 3 ODIs. Captain Themba Bavuma misses the series due to injury. Aidan Markram says Deervald Brevis is not the only replacement option for Bavuma.
He'd definitely be an option, yes, especially with the way he plays spin. If the conditions are going to be exaggerated and he can quickly change the momentum of the game, doing what he does and playing the way he does, then I would just think he'll be a definite consideration. But you've got guys like Tony as well coming back. He played incredibly well in Bangladesh, scoring big runs there where it was also quite challenging. So I don't think it's necessarily a dead given straight swap, but I'm very sure he'll be in the conversation.
Bafana is under pressure to beat Zimbabwe on Friday and Rwanda next Tuesday if they are to qualify for the FIFA World Cup. A points deduction for fielding an ineligible player earlier this year means nothing less than a win will do. I'm actually trying to think about it. Have we actually have any repercussions for that? Have we ever come out? I think
from
there was.
SAFA point of
from
view.
SAFA.
I
think there was.
I'm just thinking for the players, they've got to really, really and dig deep, because it must be disheartening.
I must actually look it up because...
Imagine the player who said at the time, "Coach, are you sure?" I wonder if anybody did speak up.
Maybe nobody said it because they just assumed that the people
okay.
whose job it is
to check
did the job. And then what are the repercussions for those actions? Coach Hugo Bross is not expecting any favours from Zim on Friday.
And we don't expect something from our opponents. And I saw that the coach of Zimbabwe already said that we don't have to expect something for their side. We never expect something from Zimbabwe. They're always very motivated to play against us. So we are ready for that. And we will try to win that game on Friday. And again, then we will see what happens on the other pitches.
And in rugby, the Bulls have 13 Springboks in their squad travelling for the United Rugby Championship. Johan Grobler has been named captain as Marcel Coetzee failed to come through his head injury assessment. Also missing is Kurtley Arendse. He's got a hamstring injury, but Andre Pollard, Wilco Low and Kanan Moody are all in the pack. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
All right, let's wrap up the morning's traffic. It's 14 to 9. Amo, where are the hotspots now?
On the N3 North Bongani between Vincent Chabalala Road and the Baku interchange due to roadworks, as well as on the R24 West between the Edenville Road exit and the N12 merge that's due to an accident. And there's also queuing traffic along the Marquand North between Boyson's Road and Carr Street. I'll have more updates for you at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Investec SA CEO Kumesh Mudlia. We do this to highlight efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. Let's walk the talk and together make a difference.
People are talking, everybody's talking, and they're saying it's time to make insurance great again. They said our low premiums were fake news. Wrong. We're putting customers first. We're gonna drain the insurance swamp. It's full of hidden fees. But when we clean it up, believe me, it's gonna be huge.
This message has absolutely nothing to do with the US government. It's paid for by the King of Insurance, who's making insurance great again. Get a quote now. It'll be the best decision people are saying ever. King Price is a licensed FSP. No fake news, just like her insurance.
Coming up
on the Clement Mania Taylor Show
on 702.
Between 9 and 12, Clement is on your radio and he's in the studio to tell us not only what he will be wearing. No.
Wearing where?
His clothes won't offend anyone, I promise you.
Whose clothes offended
Your guys. People's cultures are threatened by clothes. That's how fragile they are.
Aye.
What's on the show?
Aye.
He's not entering.
On the show today.
Clement is like, I am not coming. It's on the show.
On the show today, we're going to start with the 702 open line, and we're going to look at this 10-point action plan that was announced by the president yesterday. It is no different
to Operation Vulindlela.
The ANC president, to be clear.
The ANC president.
Because he did it as ANC president.
Well, he did say that this is a plan that's going to be implemented throughout the structures in government. So they think they still have over 60% of support. Because remember, there was a time when the NEC adopts something, goes straight for implementation.
Yep.
Things are different now. And I did ask Helen Ziller this morning, what does this mean for you guys? And Helen thinks they still have to land it in the GNU because this is a GNU's economic action plan. Anyway, we're going to look at that. And I'm interested in just looking at the similarities between what the president announced and what Operation Vulindlela has been doing, which is concentrated in his private office in the presidency. So that's on the open line. Between 10 and 11 o'clock, we're going to do the healing hour. And today I'm really excited because we're going to dedicate an hour to reflect on life lessons. And here's a question I have for you, Bongani. What has life taught you that you wish you knew when you were young? Whether when you were 20 or when you were 25 or 18, what is that one thing for you that you've learned from life today that you wish you knew?
You'll be okay.
It's going to be okay.
No matter what you go through, no matter how dark the night, you'll be okay.
That's what I'm gonna.
Over and over again. Challenges will come your way. It'll feel insurmountable. It'll feel like you just can't see your way. But always, you'll be okay.
Can you cut that for me, Palesa? I want to play it on my show later. That's what I'll be asking the listeners today. You will be okay.
No matter what it is.
Yeah.
And look, and I'm not making light of challenges people face.
Yeah.
Sometimes life really smacks you about, right? It puts you on the floor. You can barely move a limb. You don't know what your next thought will be. But in time, you'll be okay.
You'll be okay. At 11 o'clock, we're going to do our World of Work feature. Today, we're looking at the impact of unemployment on mental health. And we wrap up the show at 11:30 with our health and wellness feature. Today, we're discussing dyslexia. That's the show.
What have you learned?
About
life.
I'm only 35. I've just entered life.
35 is a lot.
I don't think so. I think I'm uncovering. So I said to my friends this past Sunday that I'm in my seeking era. So I'm reading a lot of books. I'm listening to lots of podcasts because I'm trying to figure out what I'm here for. So if that's still what I'm trying to figure out, trust me, the lessons haven't been that much.
I think that's an ongoing thing, and it changes perhaps from decade to decade or era or stage of life, what you are here for. That's a different question altogether. But surely by 35, there's one thing.
There are a few life
there's
lessons.
one thing you know to be true. What is that?
Geez. Let me actually take something that I probably said because I participated recently in a book. An author was writing a book and asked a few of us to write essays about what we wish we would have told our 25-year-old or what we knew at 25. And one of the things I said there was that do not despise the small beginnings, because there are so many small little things that were happening when I was young, in high school, in university, that I used to despise. So things that would probably demonstrate where I would probably be today, but I used to just look down on them and I didn't take them seriously. Those humble beginnings.
And look at you now. You see, you know something, even at 35.
You will be okay.
Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for general practitioners, dentists, surgeons, and other medical specialists. Kuveni.
It's so nice to know the business risk is taken care of by Business Outsurance. The call center was just a dream to deal with. Very seamless, easy experience, and it just feels like the people we're talking to on the other line understand our needs.
Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Great news, travelers. FlySafair is now flying between Cape Town and Hoedspruit 3 times a week. So, whether you want to chase the Big Five in Kruger, soak up the views at God's Window, or wind through the beautiful panorama route, Hoedspruit is the perfect launch pad to some of SA's amazing natural treasures. Ready to go from coastlines to canyons in just a few clicks? Book flights now at flysafair.co.za from just 1,570 Rand. FlySafair, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Good morning, Bongani and the team. With me, wintertime, I always make sure that I keep alcophilics in the office
because I don't want anyone coming with an excuse to go home. So I always make sure I have a bottle of alcoholics. If you tell me that there's something in your chest, I tell you come with a spoon. We'll sort it out right there and there. This is a one delay in Pretoria.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
7:02 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
What does it mean to be a father in 2025? A play, Fatherhood, directed by Archie Opa Matsetela, is on at the Market Theatre. And from the heart of community theatre to one of South Africa's most iconic stages, it's set to spark conversation and reflection. It is, of course, a fantastic play on at the Market Theatre, running from the 9th to the 19th of October. And it's about four boys grappling with the absence of their fathers. Archie Opa Matsetela joins us now on the line. A very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us in 702 Breakfast.
Good morning, Bongani, and good morning to everyone in the studio. And yes, it's a good morning, and good morning to our listeners.
It's already a powerful festival-winning production coming to a main stage. Tell me all about Fatherhood.
Oh, so Fatherhood is a theatre production that reflects and dives deep into the issues and impact of absent fathers and abusive fathers who are present, whether emotionally or physically. And it also touches on intergenerational conflicts and broken homes, mother and father conflicts that will lead to a boy child being raised by a single parent. This story, the production or the play is told through music, text, movement, and use of objects.
It's about four boys navigating life without fathers. That comes with, I would imagine, humor. There must be some heartache and a need for honesty.
Yes. So the play is it's an emotional roller coaster and allows the audience to reflect back on the kind of the environment and society that we live in. And the main purpose of the play is to educate, inform, entertain, and also to spark meaningful conversation, and also to just speak back to the impact of absent fathers and the impact of a mother and father relationship that can lead to a broken home.
Archie, how much is this autobiographical? Did you have any of these difficulties as you were growing up?
So some of the elements in the production are from a personal experience, not only from me as a director, plus also to the performers themselves. So we took some of the personal experience and brought them to stage, and that's the reason why the production is close to home, and not only to us as performers or creative team, but also to the society around us, and also to the South African boy child out there and the mothers and fathers out there.
Yeah. How do you deal with this tension whilst no one can ever take away the role of the father, and we understand why that is needed by everyone, by any child? There are many families who, for whatever reason, may not have that presence, but who are led by mothers and grandmothers and other figures who try and raise the kids to the best of their abilities, who provide them with as much as they can. How do you deal with the tension where people might say, hang on, whilst it would have been lovely to have a father figure, or indeed my own father, I'm not lacking because he wasn't there, because the female-led family that I grew up in also looked after me.
These are some of the elements that we highlight in the production, that growing up without a father does not mean that therefore you need to be disrespectful, or you need to be a broken man. These four guys are trying to navigate to be better men in the world, and also to be a way different from what their fathers or their absent fathers used to be.
And the idea, of course, is to inspire those who are or would be fathers. When we know better, we do better. Isn't that the saying?
Yes, it's also to inspire to young men out there and young boys out there to say, you are who you are.
Ooh, our line just letting us there off. Not quite so clear, Archie, but I think we've got the sense of it. It's on the 9th until the 19th of October at the Market Theatre. You can get your tickets at Web Tickets. Fatherhood is the play, and it's an inspiration to all fathers to do better.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
Unbreak my heart, say you love me again, undo this hurt you caused when you walked out the door and walked out of my life, uncry these tears, I've cried so many nights, unbreak my heart. Bring back the joy to my life. Don't leave me here with these tears. Come and kiss this pain.
Unbreak my heart. Perhaps that's the song we should leave it on. Hey? There are many people whose hearts are broken because no matter how much they struggle to be a part of this society, no matter how much the legal protections that guarantee them dignity and equality in this society, there are those who would make it their life's work, their life's mission, to denigrate, to disregard, to humiliate, to exclude, all in the name of cultures with which are infused with values from elsewhere. Why can't we just see each other as equals? Why can't we just see each other as the same? We bleed the same way, we hurt the same way, we cry the same way. Why can't we just do that? It's 9 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will make his first appearance before Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry to elaborate on his allegations of corruption in the criminal justice system. Mkhwanazi will take the stand in the parliamentary inquiry just 2 weeks after his 3-day testimony before the Madlanga Commission, which is also sitting in Pretoria. Parliament says everything is in place, including security arrangements for Mkhwanazi's evidence, which will be led by Advocate Norman Aronson. Babalo Ndenze reports.
Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi will give testimony before the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee for 2 days, unlike the 3-day testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Another departure from the Madlanga Commission is that Mkhwanazi will also face questions from members of the committee, which is made up of 8 parties, with the ANC holding the majority of seats. After the opening statements and questions from the evidence leader, members of the committee will also be afforded 30 minutes each to pose questions to Mkhwanazi. In terms of his terms of reference, the committee will also, among others, investigate the status of the 121 case dockets allegedly removed from the political killings task team as directed by the Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya, acting on the instruction of Minister Senzo Mchunu, who also ordered he disband the task team. The committee will also interrogate instability within crime intelligence. Mkhwanazi's appearance will be followed by National Commissioner Fandima Semola on Thursday. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News.
DA leader John Steenhuisen has warned against voting for smaller parties, which he says only prolongs the suffering of residents in struggling municipalities. He says voters in unstable metros with poor service delivery like Nelson Mandela Bay have to give one party an outright majority if they want to see meaningful change and political stability. Steenhuisen was addressing party supporters in Gqeberha in the Nelson Mandela Bay metro yesterday after announcing Retief Odendaal as the party's mayoral candidate to contest next year's local government elections.
And then people come along and they form other parties. Rise and Zansi, they didn't rise in the last election. It's like just my souffle, it never rises. They don't get it right. And you know what ends up happening? Thousands upon thousands of our people go and vote for those parties. And where are they today? Did they put a single tap on Did they put a single kilowatt of electricity in your home?
Civil Movement Soil of Africa says many citizens whose IDs have been blocked have lost faith in the Home Affairs Department. Frustrated citizens, joined by members of the organization, marched to the department's head office in Tshwane yesterday, protesting against what they say